Chapter 50 Heaven and Earth Path Gang Tianya Valley. Guan put the bronze fragment into his storage bag and asked, "Are the Ji family's 10 divine abilities really that strong, that even a genius like you from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion would be so envious?" Jiang Qiong glanced at the wooden cabinet beside her and said softly, "Very strong. Moreover, they are not something you can master just because you want to. In the Ji family, anyone who can master even one divine ability regardless of their status, will get the Ji family's special cultivation and be moved into the main family. In the Taizong dynasty, all the sects combined would struggle to overturn the supreme sect. The same goes for the clans, the disparity is vast. 3 major clans reign supreme over the dynasty, one of which is the Ji family." Listening to her, Guan suddenly suspected that there might be spies from the Ji family within the Thousand Autumn Pavilion as well. Indeed, it was the demon path. Following her words, Guan asked, "Who are the other 2 families?" "The Zhou and Gu families." "Why not the Li family?" The Li family is just a puppet." Jiang Qiong spoke with disdain for the Li family, which gave Guan a new understanding of the Taizong dynasty. The royal family isn't the strongest family? Indeed, though Li Xuando's lifespan limit was strong, it couldn't compare with Ji Xiaoyu. Ji Xiaoyu was currently the most terrifyingly talented person Guan had encountered. The Gu Zong was probably related to the Gu family, and the void-crossing realm mastery evident how deep the Gu family's strength ran. As for the Zhou family, Guan hadn't come into contact with them yet. Taking this opportunity, Guan continued to inquire about the world of immortal cultivation from Jiang Qiong, who answered everything one by one. After about half an hour, Jiang Qiong grew impatient. "Why do you have so many questions? Quickly find me a place to stay." Jiang Qiong glared at him. It was the first time Guan heard her refer to herself as old lady. It seemed her injuries were becoming unbearable. Thus, Guan took Jiang Qiong downstairs and personally arranged a place for her to stay. After she settled down, Jiang Qiong began to cultivate her energies to heal and didn't come out of her room again. Zhen Qin, on the other hand, found Guan and curiously asked about Jiang Qiong's identity. Guan only mentioned that she was an inner sect disciple, which was enough to awe Zhen Qin. Soon, the news of an inner sect disciple arriving at Mystic Valley spread quickly among all the disciples, and they also heard that the inner sect disciple was very beautiful. Late at night, Guan entered the 8 scenic caves alone and buried the bronze fragment in the ground. He planned to investigate the Ji family's divine power collection after Jiang Qiong left. Autumn passed into winter and white snow began to fall from the sky. After nearly a month of recuperation in Mystic Valley, Jiang Qiong bid farewell to Guan. As Guan watched her leave on her sword, he noticed she was heading in the opposite direction of the inner sect, likely leaving the supreme sect. Guan glanced toward Zhen Qin's house, where he could sense she was cultivating some kind of miracle skill that Jiang Qiong had taught her. Before leaving, Jiang Qiong had explained that Zhen Qin had pestered her to learn it. After watching for a while, Guan headed towards the mountain forest to check on the demon sheep roaming there. The demon path should have dispersed, and now it was time to return to a peaceful farming life. Guan wouldn't be complacent just because he was at the void-crossing realm 9th layer. He felt it wasn't enough and was already looking forward to the functions that a million-year lifespan might unlock, hoping for something powerful. In the days that followed, he occasionally left the valley to tend to the caves of the outer sect disciples and to purchase high-rank medicinal herb seeds from the outer sect. The winter snow grew heavier, blanketing the world in a pale expanse. One night, Guan quietly entered the 8 scenic caves. He dug out the bronze fragment from the soil and brought it to the green vine tree, where he sat down to meditate. The sky dragon approached, nudging him. Guan suddenly noticed that the sky dragon's body had begun to widen, which wasn't a good sign. He started to admonish the sky dragon not to overeat, as he didn't want to raise a fat dragon. After playing around with the sky dragon for a while, Guan finally began using his divine sense to probe the bronze fragment. Jiang Qiong hadn't lied to him. The bronze fragment indeed housed a powerful restriction, one that couldn't be forcefully broken by anyone below the void-crossing realm. Guan had already decided that if the divine ability could only be taught to one person, he would learn it first and then teach Jiang Qiong. If it could be used repeatedly, he would pretend he hadn't touched it. Boom! The powerful divine sense of a void-crossing realm 9th layer penetrated the bronze fragment, and the mysterious restriction lasted for just a moment before being forcibly broken. When the restriction was shattered, a huge influx of information surged into his mind. This influx of information was extremely complex and chaotic, with various pieces of information rudely breaking into his mind, causing him to frown slightly. Even after breaking the restriction, it still required sorting through the information, possibly serving as another test. Guan's divine sense was strong and could capture minute connections, and after a while he managed to sort it out. This divine ability was called the Heaven and Earth Path Gang. The snow piled up heavily, with this year's snowfall far exceeding previous years, forcing Guan to lead the disciples to shovel the snow. Unless it was an emergency, they didn't use spiritual power. As Guan said, this also counted as a form of cultivation. The heavy snow fell for half a day before it finally eased. Guan stood in front of the wooden fence, looking at his medicinal herbs. Not a single herb was damaged, which brought a smile to his face. After watching for a while, Guan's gaze shifted to the entrance of the valley, where he saw a man wearing a rain hat and cloak, carrying a long gun wrapped in cloth, walking in. Luo Hun, Core Formation Realm 8th Layer 66/400/2803. A maximum lifespan of 2,803 years. Impressive. Guan immediately walked over and came to Luo Hun, cupping his hands in greeting. Just as he was about to inquire, the other person spoke first. "Who is the Valley Master, Guan?" Luo Hun's voice sounded young, but it was full of vigor. Guan responded, "I am. Who might you be?" Luo Hun raised his head, revealing a handsome face under the rain hat, but his left cheek bore a brand with the character for prisoner. "The Emperor sent me. You have an ancient hour to prepare, then come with me," Luo Hun said expressionlessly. After speaking, he walked past Guan and continued into the valley. A gleam of joy flashed in Guan's eyes. Finally it has come. He was eager to see how big Li Xuando's Medicine Valley was. He immediately went to find Wuxin, who had already become the first disciple of Mystic Valley, capable of overseeing the entire valley. The so-called first disciple was a position, not necessarily the disciple of the Valley Master. Just like the first disciple of the Supreme Sect, who had the strongest strength, but wasn't the disciple of the sect leader. Upon hearing that Guan was leaving for a while, Wuxin was excited, and Guan gave him many instructions, especially that the medicinal herbs needed to be left for him to harvest personally. Wuxin knew that his senior brother had few hobbies, one of which was harvesting, and promised not to touch the herbs. Luo Hun then approached Yi Yan, who was practicing staff techniques with a long stick, a family skill. Seeing Luo Hun approach, Yi Yan quickly stopped and looked at him nervously. Luo Hun pulled out a secret book from his pocket and tossed it to him, saying, "You have good bone structure, you can practice this." Yi Yan caught the secret book and replied, "But I am just a mixed spirit root. Spirit root only determines one's talent for energy absorption cultivation. Human talent has other aspects too. Your bone structure is better than most, making you a good talent for spear training. Once you master it, you can join the military in Sangzhou, make meritorious contributions, and then exchange for heavenly materials and earthly treasures to cleanse your marrow and change your life grid." Luo Hun's words excited Yi Yan, and he promptly thanked him. Luo Hun nodded slightly and then walked around, observing the medicinal herbs planted in Medicine Valley. After about half an hour, Guan found him and said they were ready to leave. Luo Hun raised his hand, removing the long gun from his back, which gleamed in his hand with golden light, drawing the disciples' attention. "Show off," Guan thought to himself. Luo Hun leaped into the air, stepping on the long gun, and glanced towards Guan in the snow below, saying, "Come up." Guan immediately jumped up, landing behind him, standing on the gun shaft. Luo Hun spurred his spiritual power, and the long gun carried them swiftly away, crossing the mountains and leaving a long streak against the snowy sky. Disciples in the valley gathered and curiously discussed Luo Hun's identity. The sky was cold and Guan's black hair was blown backward, revealing a fair and handsome face. "Not bad, your control over spiritual power is very fine, you stand very stably." Luo Hun's voice sounded, his back facing Guan, his tone tinged with admiration. Guan responded casually, "I usually enjoy sword control techniques, so I have studied it. Although your cultivation is low, having caught the Emperor's eye, you must have some outstanding qualities. When you reach Medicine Valley, feel free to do your best. I will protect the valley." Luo Hun began talking about Medicine Valley, and Guan listened carefully. According to Luo Hun, this Medicine Valley was very important to the Emperor. The Emperor planned to cultivate a group of geniuses within the valley for future use. If Guan performed well, he could also obtain a batch of precious medicinal herbs. Guan sensed that Luo Hun had deep respect for Li Xiandao, which made him curious about the prisoner brand on Luo Hun's face. Li Xuando's Medicine Valley was called Tianya Valley. Though near the Supreme Sect, it was thousands of miles from Mystic Valley, located in a demon beast-infested mountainous area. Guan suggested establishing a teleportation array in Qinya Valley to connect it to Mystic Valley, but Luo Hun rejected the idea, stating that Qinya Valley's existence must remain unknown to the Supreme Sect. This made Guan want to complain. You've planted it near the Supreme Sect, yet you want to keep it hidden? But then he thought of the 8 scenic caves, guessing that Li Xiandao likely set up high-rank formations. To accommodate Guan, Luo Hun flew at a moderate speed. Night fell, but he continued flying. Guan sensed that this area's forests were filled with demon energy, with creatures comparable to the core formation realm. Sure enough, suddenly a third-tier demon bird attacked from behind, but Luo Hun struck out with a punch, his spiritual power forming a golden spear shadow that tore the demon bird apart, capturing its demon core with ease. After showing his power, no other demons dared to disturb them. By the next morning, Guan finally saw Qinya Valley. The mountains and rivers before them were shrouded in white mist and snow. Amidst the peaks lay a vortex of white snow, with white cranes flying within, beautiful like an immortal realm. Through the snow mist, Guan saw Qinya Valley and his expression grew peculiar. Qinya Valley lay among the mountains, about twice the size of Mystic Valley in area, with steels standing on the surrounding mountains, clearly part of some formation, yet to be activated. The downside was that the valley was overrun with weeds, exceedingly pristine, meaning he would have to clear the land first. Guan couldn't help but ask, is it just the two of us in Qinya Valley for now? Luo Hun looked ahead as he descended the long gun, answering, don't worry, I will capture some demons to assist. This valley cannot recruit people randomly, we must wait for the Emperor to send them. Chapter 51, Zhou Tongyu the strongest in a century hunting demons? Guan immediately became interested upon hearing this. As they descended continuously, the terrain of Qinya Valley appeared amidst the snowy mist. From mid-air, it looked like a vast green ocean. Streams flowed into the valley from all directions, and at the edges of the valley, 2 small rivers could be seen flowing underground. Soon Luo Hun landed with Guan, and he began wrapping his long spear with a cloth. From now on you are the valley master. Do whatever you wish and instruct me at any time. Luo Hun said. Guan nodded, directly taking out the heavenly residence sword and said, build a few pavilions in the peripheral area while I clear the weeds. Luo Hun's eyes fell on the heavenly residence sword scabbard. His pupils suddenly dilated, and he immediately knelt down, saying in a deep voice, Luo Hun greets the master of heavenly residence sword. Guan purposely took out the heavenly residence sword, fearing Luo Hun might not take him seriously. The effect was excellent. What are you doing? Quickly rise. Guan feigned panic and hurriedly helped Luo Hun up. After standing up, Luo Hun's eyes were filled with complexity. He muttered, I never expected His Majesty would give you the heavenly residence sword. Guan asked in surprise, why such a big reaction? Luo Hun replied, Taitsong has 3 emperor swords. Seeing the sword is like seeing the emperor. They are the heavenly inquiry, heavenly residence, and heavenly punishment. His Majesty holds the heavenly punishment sword, while the Crown Prince has the heavenly inquiry sword. Without His Majesty's permission no one can possess the sword. Hence, seeing the sword is like seeing the emperor. Upon hearing this, Guan suddenly realized that Li Ya's status in Li Zuando's heart was very high, comparable to the Crown Prince's. If Li Xiandao didn't agree, it would be hard for Li Ya to inherit the heavenly residence sword. But this sword is now in his hands. Guan wondered if Li Xiandao had other plans? Guan habitually considered the worst scenarios, so he thought Li Zuando's intentions were not simple. After all, an emperor's heart is as deep as the sea. I see, then let's get to work. Guan responded. Luo Hun had no objections, but he couldn't help but look at the heavenly residence sword a few more times. Soon after, he saw Guan using the heavenly residence sword to clear weeds, which made him hesitant to speak. Luo Hun struggled for a while before eventually turning away. An hour later, the array steels around Qinya Valley were activated. Each steel burst out blue light, rising into the sky, then converging in the air to form a semicircular light shield covering the entire Qinya Valley, which then turned transparent. After activating the array, Luo Hun began building the pavilions. By noon, Guan had cleared all the weeds at the bottom of the valley, working very efficiently. If he didn't have to hide his true strength, he could have stomped his feet to clear all the weeds. 3 days later, Guan had already finished sowing. Luo Hun brought many high-ranked medical herb seeds from his seemingly inexhaustible storage bag. In these 3 days, Luo Hun had built 5 pavilions and caught 3 monkey demons. These 3 monkey demons were all second-tier demon beasts. They could walk upright, and apart from having fur, they looked almost human. Luo Hun let Guan name them, so Guan named them Sun Da, Sun Air, and Sun San according to their cultivation levels, which made Luo Hun silent for a while. The 3 monkeys liked the surname Sun very much. Guan led the 3 monkeys around the park, explaining their daily tasks. The 3 monkey demons could already speak human language, each of them clever, making communication easy. Guan was not worried they would misbehave because they were cursed by Luo Hun with their life and death not in their control. Meanwhile, Luo Hun lay on the pavilion stairs, taking out a book from his chest. The cover read, Investiture of the Gods. He was also a fan of Investiture of the Gods. Guan mentioned it to him before and he was very excited like never before. Nearing evening, Guan found Luo Hun and said he needed to return to Mystic Valley. Luo Hun feared for his safety due to the many demons on the way, but Guan insisted on going back. Guan promised he would be careful. Luo Hun thought for a while, then took out 10 talisman papers from his storage bag and said, "These are for invisibility technique. Infuse them with spiritual power and you can turn invisible, even hiding your presence. Unless encountered by a 3rd level or higher core formation realm cultivator, it will be hard to detect you. Each paper lasts for 5 hours. Use them sparingly as you need to return." Guan accepted the talismans and thanked him with cupped fists. Still worried, Luo Hun said, "How about establishing foundation first? I have foundation establishment pills here." Guan shook his head. "I have my own foundation establishment pills. Don't worry about me. I remember the way back. I have plenty of spirit energy elixirs." With that he left on his sword. Exiting Qinghong Valley wasn't hindered by the array, but entering was challenging. Luo Hun watched Guan's departing figure, frowning slightly. He recalled His Majesty's words and sighed. Li Xiandao instructed that if Guan died, another person would become the Valley Master. Luo Hun's task was to protect Qinghong Valley. After leaving 100 miles from Qinghong Valley, Guan suddenly sped up. Before nightfall he had returned to Mystic Valley. Having Qinghong Valley, Guan's days would become busier. Managing the Outer Disciples' Cave needed his attention, and he had to occasionally check on Qinghong Valley. He couldn't fully trust the monkeys. Though it would be tiring, Guan didn't feel exhausted at all. Instead he was full of fighting spirit. In a few years his lifespan would increase significantly. Once he obtained the Medicine Valley promised by Gu Zong, a 1,000,000-year lifespan would not seem far away. Guan even pondered studying the puppetry technique, leaving a puppet in each Medicine Valley to help monitor the medicinal herbs. Before that, he had to improve his superficial cultivation level. The 9th layer of the energy cultivation realm was insufficient. Traveling between Mystic Valley and Qinghong Valley would be very troublesome. 15 days later, Guan went to the outer sect to visit the book collection hall's Elder Lu. He felt Elder Lu had more power than Zhu Qinglu of the Elixir Hall. They met alone in the inner room. Elder Lu was reading the latest volume of Investiture of the Gods, smiling, not bad, very well written. Just flipping through makes me excited." Guan hesitated before saying, "Elder Lu, I have a request." Without looking up, Elder Lu asked, "What is it?" "I want to establish foundation, but I don't want to be an outer disciple. I want to continue being the Valley Master of Mystic Valley. This way it's easier for me to write. Going out on missions as an outer disciple, I'm afraid of dying outside. Is that all? Can Elder Lu manage it?" "Of course. I will go directly to Guyu. He had told me that his father values you greatly and asked me to take good care of you and meet your needs as much as possible." Elder Lu laughed, his smile resembling a sly old fox. Guan immediately thanked him. Elder Lu put down the book and said, "You are already considered a special talent of the Supreme Sect. Your annual yields are among the top 3 in the Outer Sect's Medicine Valleys. Moreover, you write Investiture of the Gods, attracting 50% more disciples to the Supreme Sect each year. Your contribution far surpasses that of an outer disciple's missions. Rest assured, even if you reach the core formation realm, you will not be sent out on missions." He laughed heartily after saying this. He couldn't reach the core formation realm. Could Guan? Guan felt relieved. This made things simpler. All he had to do was not appear too talented, gradually improving his apparent cultivation level, making future activities easier. Elder Lu seemed to remember something. Recently the genius from Jueshan Sect, Zhou Tongyu, is coming to challenge the young cultivators under 100 years old in the Supreme Sect. It's likely to be very lively. You should gather some information for your next book, and remember to include the Supreme Sect in it. Investiture of the Gods, was about finished. Elder Lu had received instructions from above. Guan nodded and curiously asked, "Is Zhou Tongyu very powerful?" "Of course. He has dual spirit roots and the evil-suppressing golden body, a physique nurtured by the Zhou family over thousands of years. He has no equal in the same realm. He once killed a third-layer core formation realm cultivator with his ninth-layer foundation establishment realm cultivation, becoming renowned in the Taicang Immortal cultivation world as the strongest genius in a century." Elder Lu was full of admiration talking about Zhou Tongyu, narrating the battle in detail, and Guan listened attentively. To Guan, those who could defeat enemies across realms had the protagonist's fortune. After all, he couldn't do that, or rather he didn't dare. Instead of defeating powerful enemies across realms, he preferred to crush weaker opponents with superior cultivation. An hour later, Guan left the book collection hall. After buying a batch of supplies in the city, he hurried back to Mystic Valley. The next morning, Guan gathered the disciples for exercises, announcing his success in foundation establishment the previous night, delighting the disciples. Wuxia felt both joy and reluctance. If senior brother succeeded in foundation establishment, he would have to go to the outer sect, and Wuxia would become the valley master. "Master, does this mean you're leaving us?" Zhen Qin quickly asked, looking pitiful. The other disciples anxiously looked at Guan. Wuxia suppressed his joyful feelings, also feigning a look of loss. Guan sighed, "Yes." The disciples' expressions instantly dimmed and Wuxia's heart pounded with guilt. But the saddest was Xiao Chuan, who would become the senior in the valley. "But because of our good harvest, I applied to stay in Medicine Valley, and the outer sect agreed," Guan quickly added. The disciples were stunned for a moment, then cheered. Rushing towards Guan, Wuxia stood there, dazed for a few seconds before forcing a smile. The happiest person was Xiao Chuan, knowing that he had no hope of foundation establishment. Having Guan for life was a delight, as only Guan indulged his interest in raising demons. Mystic Valley became lively, Wuxia needing a long time to calm his emotions. Guan noticed his mood and took him aside, explaining he would soon have a new Medicine Valley, and even if he remained in Mystic Valley, Wuxia could be in charge. Wuxia was excited to hold real authority as Valley Master. Seeing his enthusiastic smile, Guan thought again of Qing Xiandan and Zhang Chuanqiu. So much had changed. Days passed quickly. Guan went out every 2 days to manage the outer disciples' cave, and every half-month to check on Qinghong Valley. Upon learning of Guan's foundation establishment, Luo Hun became completely assured, ceasing his interruptions. Guan noticed Luo Hun liked reading, so he brought him a Green Hero Travelogue. Strangely, after that, Guan never saw Luo Hun reading Green Hero Travelogue. Did he not like it? No more books for him then. But why wasn't he reading Investiture of the Gods either? Chapter 52. The Civil War. Third Medicine Valley. Winter passed and spring came. Another year of the Spring Festival was approaching. Mystic Valley welcomed the Spring Festival with disciples busy preparing. Guan was holding a white spirit rat, patrolling the different courtyards. The white spirit rat enjoyed being held by him, its eyes closed as if it were asleep. A whistling sound came from the horizon. Guan turned his head and smiled. Yilan was back. She quickly landed beside Guan, storing her flying sword in her storage bag. She smiled charmingly. "Senior brother, I came back for the festival. You wouldn't be unwelcome, would you?" Guan looked at her and smiled, asking, "Isn't the law enforcement hall busy?" "No matter how busy, I can always spare a few days. Proper relaxation is more conducive to cultivation." "You said that and I've always remembered." Yilan blinked and said playfully. After a few words of greeting, Yilan pulled Guan towards the pavilion. As they walked, she said, "Senior brother, let's go to your room first. I'll show you a treasure." "A treasure?" Guan put the white spirit rat down and followed Yilan. As they climbed up to the pavilion and entered the room, Yilan didn't close the door, which made Guan breathe a sigh of relief. Yilan walked to the table and took a brocade box out of her storage bag. She turned sideways and looked at Guan with a proud smile. "Senior brother, this is a foundation establishment gift I specially prepared for you. Why go to such trouble? When you reached foundation establishment, I didn't give a gift. Without your foundation establishment pill, could I have achieved foundation establishment? I'm not like those geniuses who can force foundation establishment with their spirit root qualification." Yilan shook her head and laughed. Hearing this, Guan did not decline further. He walked to her side, curiously looking at the brocade box. Yilan opened the brocade box. Inside was a herb root that looked like ginseng. If not carefully sensed, it was hard to detect the faint spiritual energy within. Human-faced tree, revival state 0/600/22,000, 22,000 years of maximum lifespan? Guan raised his eyebrows. It was the first time he saw the words revival state. Yilan introduced, this is the root of a 6th-grade spirit tree. Once buried in the ground for several years, it can regrow and enhance the spiritual energy of the area. Guan curiously asked, such a precious treasure, where did you get it? Yilan blinked and said, recently while capturing demon path traders, I found it in the cave of a trader from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. I didn't report it. Isn't that improper? Don't worry. Other disciples of the Law Enforcement Hall also keep some items. It's tacitly approved as long as they don't take too much and no one knows about this treasure. Hearing this, Guan felt less burdened. He thought for a moment and said, if you need any medicinal herbs, feel free to tell me. They'll soon have a second Medicine Valley. We can help each other in the future. Yilan smiled, sure, I'll go find others now. I brought gifts for them too. Guan nodded and Yilan immediately left. He looked at the brocade box on the table, pondering where to plant it. Thinking it over, he decided to keep it for the 3rd Medicine Valley. The new valley needed enhanced spiritual energy for faster herb growth. Mystic Valley already had its own rhythm and didn't need a spirit tree, and Qinghong Valley was not his to supply with seeds. Since Qinghong Valley was Li Zuando's Medicine Valley, he only had management rights there. For any needs in Qinghong Valley, he could fully rely on Li Xiandao. Guan then put the brocade box into his storage bag and walked to his desk, picking up a pen to start writing on paper. Yilan's arrival made the atmosphere in Mystic Valley even better. As night fell, various spring festival activities began, bustling with excitement. When everyone sat down to drink, Zhenqin asked Yilan to talk about the experiences of outer disciples performing missions. Yilan did not refuse. Besides guarding the outer sect, Law Enforcement Hall disciples also went out for training. Yilan was no exception. The mission we received was an exorcism task in a mountain town. Nearly 1,000 households there had all died within a few days. To prevent the evil entity from harming more people, the local government sought help from the Supreme Sect. There were 7 of us. Yilan vividly recounted the experience. Being nighttime, the disciples listened with great tension. The female disciples huddled together. Seeing the young girl who used to follow him everywhere now able to stand on her own, the smile on Guan's face never faded. When Yilan described the ghosts, the disciples' hearts were in their throats. Even Xiaochuan, Wuxin and Suhan were very tense. It was late at night when the disciples finally dispersed. Yilan followed Guan back to the pavilion. Guan took out a secret book he had written and handed it to her, saying, this is a leg technique secret book I found in the inner sect. You can practice it when you're free. Gale Shadowless Leg. Yilan took the secret book without opening it and put it into her storage bag. She looked at Guan and said, Senior brother, be careful when dealing with Lu Jiujia in the future. What happened to him? Guan asked, puzzled. Yilan sighed. Didn't we talk before about the internal strife in the Supreme Sect? Those opposing the sect leader are secretly recruiting disciples. Lu Jiujia has taken an elder from the outer sect Hall of Elders as his master. That elder serves the sect leader's adversaries. Over time, a great chaos is bound to erupt within the Supreme Sect. If the sect leader remains victorious, he will surely purge the rebellious disciples, and Lu Jiujia won't escape. I advised him before, but he didn't listen. He said the path of immortal cultivation requires striving rather than being mediocre. His choice isn't wrong. I'm just worried you'll be implicated by staying close to him. He probably thinks so too, which is why he hasn't returned to Mystic Valley. Guan fell silent after hearing this. He couldn't interfere with Lu Jiujia's choice because Lu Jiujia was right about the need to strive in immortal cultivation. He refrained from striving because he could seize lifespans, so he wasn't qualified to dictate how others should cultivate. Yilan started talking about other things, mostly about the outer sect. Internal strife in the Supreme Sect even involved the Ji family and Imperial family members, which Guan found intriguing. Until dawn, Guan finally saw Yilan off. They talked all night yet still felt energetic. Before she left, Guan reminded her not to forget practicing Gale Shadowless Leg. Yilan nodded, though her eyes carried a hint of resentment. After she left, Guan called the disciples for training. In the hot summer, 35-year-old Guan stood by the window, gazing at the sky, his brows furrowed. He was waiting for Guyu. Half a year had passed. Why hadn't he arrived? Guwen eagerly anticipated his third Medicine Valley, having already prepared seeds in advance, just waiting for planting. Could something have happened? Guwen worried. Last month, when he visited the outer sect, there was a noticeable tension, with many disciples dressed in black. They were reportedly part of the newly established Demon Extermination Hall by the new Great Elder of the outer sect. The Demon Extermination Hall was directly controlled by the Great Elder, with disciple cultivation levels starting at the 5th layer of the Foundation Establishment realm and receiving superior treatment over other halls. The Supreme Sect had 8 outer city gates, and the situation in the outer sect was this tense. One could imagine the atmosphere in the inner sect and the main city of the sect. Such strife would inevitably affect Guzong as well. Such trouble. It's upsetting my planting. Guwen suddenly felt the urge to punch those causing chaos. At that moment he sensed something and his sullen face broke into a smile. He was coming. Guwen detected Guye's aura and tried to calm his emotions without going downstairs. After a while, Guyu landed in Mystic Valley. Guwen. Guyu called out loudly, attracting the attention of the disciples in the valley. Guwen opened the door and looked at Guyu saying, "Brother Gu, come up and talk." Guyu put his compass into his storage bag and went upstairs. Once inside, Guwen closed the door and poured tea for him. Guyu didn't sit down but started browsing the bookshelf, seemingly looking for something. "I haven't written the final volume of Investiture of the Gods yet," Guwen said. Guyu, disappointed, walked to the table and sat down, taking out a stack of books and a token from his storage bag. "This is your Valley Master token. Your Medicine Valley is between the outer sect and the inner sect, less than 100 miles from the outer city. For someone in the Foundation Establishment realm like you, it's not a hassle to travel back and forth. These books are my father's life experiences written down. You can refer to them. My father said you don't have to stick to the facts. You can adapt them or even create stories based on his experiences." Guyu explained with a playful look, hinting at Guwen with his eyes. Guwen placed the teacup in front of him and picked up the Valley Master token. Unlike the bronze token of Mystic Valley, this token was silver white with several layers of restrictions within it. "It'll take you to the Medicine Valley later. If you get lost, just inject your divine sense into the token and it will guide you." Guyu drank a cup of tea and continued speaking. Guwen nodded eagerly, excited to see his new Medicine Valley. Guyu seemed to remember something and said, "Oh, when you write about me include Zhou Tongyu. Write that he is the strongest genius of the young generation in the immortal cultivation world, but he especially admires me and follows my lead." Guwen's face twitched. "That's not appropriate. I'm afraid writing that will cause trouble. Whatever you want, just ask and it'll satisfy you. It's not about the price. 100 top-grade spirit stones. If he sees it, he'll definitely investigate me. 1,000 top-grade spirit stones. This is all my savings. How about a homophone?" Upon hearing this, Guyu raised an eyebrow. "Sure, but you can only change one character." "Deal?" Guwen agreed but wouldn't slander Zhou Tongyu in the book. He considered making them rivals who admire each other, ensuring not to offend either party. He could tell Guyu didn't harbor true enmity towards Zhou Tongyu. Otherwise he would depict Zhou Tongyu as a small minion, not praise him as the strongest genius. Guyu probably just felt jealous. Making them brothers who occasionally competed would likely please Guyu. After a short rest, the two set off, controlling their swords to leave Mystic Valley. Chapter 53 So-Called Perception. Guwen's Fury. At sunset the sun dipped in the west. Guwen stood on the cliff, looking over the Medicine Valley ahead, a satisfied expression on his face. Ahead were several not-so-high mountains, with a vast valley between them, extending for a dozen miles in length and 2 or 3 miles in width. The edges of the Medicine Valley were lined with rows of trees, resembling a natural barrier, shielding the valley from wind and waves. Standing next to him, Guyu said, "There are cave dwellings of inner sect disciples nearby, more than one in number. As long as you don't leave the 100-mile radius, you won't encounter any demon beasts." Guwen nodded, his eyes filled with anticipation. What he saw was not the Medicine Valley, but an unending number of lifespans. Guyu patted Guwen on the shoulder and then flew away on his sword. Guwen leaped towards the Medicine Valley, his limbs surrounded by visible wind waves, which was precisely the wind control skill. Looking back as he stepped on his flying sword, Guyu raised an eyebrow slightly, a trace of surprise in his eyes, but he did not turn back. After landing, Guwen first walked to the entrance of the valley, where there stood a bare stele with no inscriptions. He used his finger as a sword, inscribing 4 characters with sword chi. Third Medicine Valley. The name was so simple because he planned to have many more medicine valleys in the future. Looking at his own handwriting, Guwen was very pleased. To write books regularly, he had practiced writing a lot, and his handwriting now carried a sharpness and vigor. After admiring his writing for a while, Guwen began to look for a place to build a pavilion. He intended to set up the teleportation array first. Dusk eventually passed and night gradually fell. By the bonfire, Guwen sat on a rock, flipping through a book in his hand. This was given by Ji Xiaoyu, containing instructions on how to set up the teleportation array she had provided. One had to admit, the development of immortal cultivation in this world was indeed strong. Reading this book felt like reading a manual, and it was even a simplified version. The teleportation array given by Ji Xiaoyu already had restrictions set up. He only needed to build it according to the sequence in the book. Guwen planned to stay up all night to build the array platform. Once the teleportation array was successfully set up, he would lead a few disciples to come and plant seeds. Starting the teleportation array required spirit stones, and he was quite wealthy now. Not to mention the spirit stone income from the investiture of the gods, Guyu had just given him 1,000 top-grade spirit stones, enough for him to squander for a long time. After a night, Guwen successfully set up the teleportation array platform and immediately flew away on his sword. Returning to Mystic Valley, he set up a teleportation array platform beside his pavilion. His activities attracted all the disciples to come and watch. Xiao Chuan asked what he was doing and he did not hide it. Hearing that Guwen was about to take over another medicine valley and set up a teleportation array, all the disciples became interested and asked one after another. Guwen answered them while setting up the array platform. By noon, Guwen had successfully set it up. In front of everyone, he placed spirit stones into the grooves on the array pillars, and after placing them correctly, he infused spiritual power into the activation mechanism. Rumble, the teleportation array started, the ground slightly trembled, and on the array platform, 2 array pillars burst with strong light, converging to form a light curtain. Guwen turned around, scanning the crowd and said, "Wuxin, go to the outer sect and recruit 3 servant disciples. Suhan, Zhenqin, Yiyan, come with me. The others stay in Mystic Valley." Hearing this, Zhenqin and the other 2 excitedly stepped forward and followed Guwen into the teleportation array. Not long after, the teleportation light curtain dissipated, and the array platform returned to calm. On the other side, in the third Medicine Valley, Guwen started instructing the 3 disciples to weed, while he focused on building the rooms. Suhan used a sword, Yiyan used a spear, and Zhenqin used leg techniques to weed. Since Luohun had taught Yiyan a spear technique, he couldn't help but ask Guwen for an iron spear. This spear, which Guwen bought from the outer sect, was not an ordinary iron spear. It could withstand spiritual power and could be considered the lowest grade magic artifact. Guwen was not interested in spear techniques, so he did not watch Yiyan practice. Since he started practicing the spear, Yiyan's strength improved rapidly. Guwen first saw a true genius in Mystic Valley. Yiyan's cultivation level still improved slowly, but his actual combat power rose quickly. After just 6 months of practicing the spear, both Tang Yu and Suhan combined were no match for him, which greatly discouraged the 2. This made Guwen think about his own comprehension. Comprehension was the only thing that couldn't be directly enhanced by lifespan. In this world, it seemed spirit root qualification wasn't everything. The reason Guwen asked Suhan, Zhenqin, and Yiyan to come was partly to guide them. During the Qiu Qianli disaster, their performance had earned his favor. He decided to cultivate them well and help them go further. The third Medicine Valley was situated between the inner and outer sects. The spiritual energy here was more abundant and could help them cultivate. Occasionally, Guwen could also give them special lessons. The 3 had the kind of character that could endure hardship. Before completing the weeding task, they did not rest, even secretly competing to see who could work faster. After they weeded out all the weeds, Guwen had already built 4 pavilions. The 4 gathered in front of the buildings to rest. Suhan looked at Yiyan with a hint of defiance in his eyes. Yiyan, however, was much calmer. Since he started practicing the spear, he had become more reserved. While wiping her sweat, Zhenqin asked Guwen, "Master, this place is so big, just the 3 of us, is it enough?" "Of course it's enough. Back then, I managed Mystic Valley alone, while your martial uncle Meng Lang and martial uncle Liya lazed around all day," Guwen said with a light laugh. Looking back at those little conflicts from the past, he found them amusing, though unfortunately old friends were no longer around. After listening, Zhenqin asked more about Guwen's past. Su Han and Yi Yan also listened intently as they all respected Guan greatly. Yi Yan's spear technique wasn't taught by Guan, but he still felt indebted to his master. If not for his master, how would that mysterious cultivator have come to Mystic Valley and bestowed the spear technique upon him? After talking for an hour, they continued to work. 3 days later. The third Medicine Valley was already filled with medicinal herb seeds, though it still looked like barren land. After all, seeds needed time to sprout and grow. Guan led them back to Mystic Valley to pack their belongings and then had them move to the third Medicine Valley. The remaining servant disciples were very curious about this, and some wanted to go to the third Medicine Valley but were suppressed by Wuxia. As the Valley Master of Mystic Valley, Wuxia couldn't let people run away. Mystic Valley was his foundation. Thus, Guan's three-sided Medicine Valley began to operate, and the idyllic farming life started from there. A month after the third Medicine Valley was seeded, with Zhen Qin and the other two guarding the valley, Guan only occasionally came to check. They needed to spend only a little time each day inspecting various areas. The rest of the time was devoted to cultivation. As evening approached, the sky turned crimson. Zhen Qin walked out of the house, stretched lazily, looking radiant. Jiang Qiong's cultivation technique had greatly enhanced her cultivation level, far surpassing before, so her enthusiasm for cultivation had reached its peak. She turned her head and saw Yi Yan still practicing his spear on the hillside at the entrance of the valley. Not absorbing energy, just practicing the spear, of what use? Zhen Qin muttered to herself. She did not go to join the fun but instead went to check on each area during her break. They all were the fruits of her master's hard work. On the other side, Yi Yan practiced his spear under the sunset glow, sweat falling like rain. Even though his entire body ached, he did not stop. The spear technique he practiced was his only chance. He did not want to miss it, nor did he want to be a servant disciple for life. The spiritual energy is more abundant in the valley, why not practice the spear inside? A voice came, startling Yi Yan, who turned his head to look. He saw a figure standing in the forest 10 feet away, the figure standing atop a tree, blue robes flowing in the wind, displaying an immortal's demeanor. When had he appeared? Yi Yan was secretly alarmed. He collected himself and looked towards the person, loudly asking, "Senior, what business do you have?" Guan had said that this was already inner sect territory. Any cultivator encountered must be addressed as senior, showing no disrespect. The man in blue wasn't particularly handsome, but his eyes were bright and penetrating, making it difficult to meet his gaze. "Just passing by, I saw you practicing your spear. This spear technique of yours is not simple, it includes an energy absorption and body tempering method, quite rare." Zhou Tongyu leapt from the tree and walked towards Yi Yan. Seeing him approach, Yi Yan became nervous, unsure of how to handle the situation with his master not in the valley. "You haven't answered me yet," Zhou Tongyu reminded, his tone calm, but the more he spoke this way the greater pressure Yi Yan felt. Yi Yan gritted his teeth and answered, "Behind is my master's Medicine Valley, the seeds were sown just a month ago. I don't want my cultivation to affect the growth of the medicinal herbs." "Was this spear technique taught by your master?" "No, it was a friend of my master's." "To know such a friend, your master must not be simple. May I ask your master's name?" "My master is named Guan." While answering, Yi Yan was puzzled as to what the other was exactly aiming for. Zhou Tongyu stopped and beckoned with a hand, saying, "How about a spar? I won't use spiritual power or magic artifacts, just techniques. How about it?" Yi Yan frowned, hesitating. "Are you afraid?" Zhou Tongji's words stirred Yi Yan's fighting spirit. He hadn't feared even the great cultivators of the demon path back then. How could he fear this person? At noon, Guan arrived at the third Medicine Valley through the teleportation array. He first scanned all areas with his divine sense and seeing no issues, he looked for his disciples. Quickly he was drawn to Yi Yan practicing at the entrance of the valley. He walked over and Yi Yan, noticing his approach, turned his back to him. "Yenner, how did you get injured?" Guan asked upon arriving. Yi Yan hesitated for a moment before choosing to look at Guan, showing a face covered in bruises, even with a handprint on his left cheek. He recounted what happened the previous evening to Guan, who became furious upon hearing it. Someone dared to bully his disciple. "What is his name? Will he come again?" "I don't know. He didn't say. He only mentioned that he would come looking for me again when he had time." "Don't worry, master has your back." Guan patted Yi Yan on the shoulder and then gave him some healing pills. In the following days, Guan stayed in the third Medicine Valley, but the one who beat Yi Yan never showed up. However, after Guan went to the outer sect to manage his cave and returned, he found that Yi Yan had been beaten again. The person struck and then left. This happened repeatedly over the next 2 months, with Yi Yan getting beaten 4 times, always when Guan was absent. Guan began to suspect the other was deliberately avoiding him. One noon, Guan was reading under a tree with a slope below connecting to the valley entrance, where Yi Yan was seen practicing his spear. Suddenly, Guan sensed something, his eyebrow twitched, thinking finally he has come. Chapter 54. Your sword is quick. Under Guan's watchful eyes, a figure flew swiftly and landed in front of Yi Yan. Seeing him, Yi Yan instantly became nervous and even took 2 steps back. Zhou Tongyu, Core Formation Realm 9 Layers 62/900/3100. It turned out to be him. Guan didn't expect to encounter Zhou Tongyu, who had recently made a name for himself in the Supreme Sect. Zhou Tongyu had been challenging and defeating the young disciples everywhere, earning a reputation that even extended to the outer sect. Because the Daotian sect, which Zhou Tongyu belonged to, was also a reputable sect and had a good relationship with the Supreme Sect, the great cultivators of the Supreme Sect couldn't target him specifically. Consequently, Zhou Tongyu roamed freely in the Supreme Sect for half a year without anyone being able to punish him. Zhou Tongyu only engaged in combat and did not kill anyone. Moreover, he claimed only to challenge those under the age of 100. The many cultivators of the Supreme Sect could only watch and feel secretly angry. The entire Supreme Sect was being suppressed by Zhou Tongyu. No one dared to question his rules. After all, his opponents were under 100 years old, but he still had 38 years to reach 100. When he challenged the 99-year-old disciples of the Supreme Sect, it was actually making the Supreme Sect seem at an advantage. Even so, no one could defeat him. Zhou Tongyu glanced at Guan on the nearby hillside, his expression calm. Guan put the book in his bosom, then stood up and walked down. He came between Zhou Tongyu and Yi Yan, turned to look at Zhou Tongyu, clasped his fist and said, "I am Guan, Yi Yan's master. May I know how my disciple has offended you, senior?" Yi Yan looked at Guan standing in front of him and felt deeply moved. Guan had previously mentioned that the cultivators here were all inner sect disciples, implying they were of core formation realm cultivation. For Guan, who was only at the first layer of the foundation establishment realm, to stand up to a core formation realm cultivator on his behalf, how could Yi Yan not be moved? "You are his master? Your cultivation disappoints me." Zhou Tongyu scrutinized Guan, frowning. Guan replied, "My disciple is only at the Qi cultivation realm. As his master, how high can my cultivation be?" Zhou Tongyu snorted, "I did not bully your disciple, I see potential in him." At these words, Yi Yan's face turned green, wanting to speak but holding back. Guan stared at him and said, "If you intend to guide him, you can be straightforward. My disciple can remember your kindness, but you didn't say, and you struck hard. Perhaps you genuinely wanted to guide him, but in your heart, you must look down on him, so you didn't bother to explain." If Zhou Tongyu were the top genius of the Supreme Sect, Guan might have considered it more, but he wasn't. Guan did not want to provoke Zhou Tongyu for no reason, but if Zhou Tongyu bullied him, he would not be merciful. Zhou Tongyu frowned even more upon hearing Guan's words. He wanted to refute, but he understood that Guan saw through him. He did look down on Yi Yan somewhat and only guided him on a whim. It seems you're here to question me. Very well, same rules, no use of spiritual power, just techniques. If you can defeat me, I will apologize to your disciple and give him a complete body-refining sorcery. How's that?" Zhou Tongyu said coldly, staring at Guan. "Master, let it go." Yi Yan hurriedly said. He knew Zhou Tongju's strength best, even in techniques, was unfathomable. Guan asked, "Only techniques?" "Correct." Seeing Guan interested, Zhou Tongyu grinned, though somewhat sinisterly. Guan frowned and said, "If you lose, you can't mention losing to me, and don't come to pester me and my disciple again. Want to compare techniques with me?" Zhou Tongyu laughed and said, "Agreed, now take your weapon." Guan raised his right hand, summoned a tree branch from the forest, and held it like a sword. His left hand gestured towards Zhou Tongyu. Zhou Tongyu immediately walked towards Guan. The distance between them began to shorten. Yi Yan hurriedly stepped aside, afraid of hindering his master. When they were less than 7 steps apart, Zhou Tongyu suddenly accelerated, stepping in front of Guan, punching towards Guan's abdomen with his right hand. Though he did not use spiritual power, this punch roared like tigers and leopards. Even before his fist reached Guan, Guan felt a fierce force surging towards him. Whoosh! Zhou Tongju's fist stopped, his pupils trembled violently and he looked shocked. Yi Yan's eyes widened, unable to believe what he was seeing. Gu An's body slightly leaned back, the tree branch in his hand pressed against Zhou Tangjia's throat, while Zhou Tangjia's fist was still 2 feet away from Guan. If I had a real sword, would it have hurt you? Guan asked calmly, making Zhou Tangjia's expression change. After a few moments, Zhou Tongyu withdrew his fist, followed by Guan retracting his sword. Zhou Tongyu took a deep breath, looked at Yi Yan and said, "Sorry, I was too much." He took out a secret book from his storage bag and threw it to Yi Yan, then looked at Guan again. "Your sword is fast, who exactly are you?" Guan threw the tree branch into the forest and said calmly, "I am just a cultivator with mediocre spirit root qualification, not fond of energy absorption, and I practice sword techniques daily. Though my techniques aren't exquisite, they are fast enough. Without the rules, I wouldn't be your match." If Zhou Tongyu hadn't kept his promise, Guan would have made him regret it. Now that he kept his word and apologized to a servant disciple, Guan's view of him changed. This person was proud but not inherently bad. Hearing this, Zhou Tangjia's expression changed. He bit his lip and asked, "You really won't spread today's events? I don't even know your name, how could I?" Guan retorted. Zhou Tongyu let out a sigh of relief, immediately cupped his fists to Guan, and then departed swiftly, faster than when he arrived. Yi Yan came over excitedly, "Master, I didn't expect your sword to be so fast. You defeated him with just one move." Guan glanced at the valley, where Zhenqin was absorbing energy in the house, and Su Han was practicing sword techniques in the forest miles away. Neither had noticed the earlier contest. "Don't mention this to anyone, let this be our secret. Don't even tell your senior brothers or sisters," Guan instructed Yi Yan. Yi Yan nodded vigorously, feeling closer to his master. Teaching Zhou Tongyu a lesson was just a small episode for Guan. After that, he could go out peacefully without guarding the Third Medicine Valley. However, a month later, returning to the Third Medicine Valley, Guan saw Zhou Tongyu at the entrance of the valley. Yi Yan was practicing spear techniques, while Zhou Tongyu watched from the side. Noticing Guan's gaze, Zhou Tongyu beamed and waved enthusiastically. Guan's eyes showed displeasure as he immediately walked over. Reaching the valley entrance, Guan frowned. "Why are you back? Is this guy sticking to the Supreme Sect? I thought of a way to break your sword technique, let's spar again," Zhou Tongyu said excitedly. "You promised not to pester me. Liar? It's not pestering, name your terms." "I just want to test your sword technique," Zhou Tongyu quickly explained. Yi Yan chimed in, "Master, he's been waiting here for 4 days." Guan frowned, hesitating. Zhou Tongyu pulled out a small cloth bag from his storage bag and said, "Here are seeds of 4th-grade medicinal herbs. All for you. Just spar with me. I'm not here for victory but to learn from you." Guan took the bag, weighed it and sighed, "Just this once. Never again, I swear." Zhou Tongyu said excitedly, thinking he must defeat Guan this time convincingly. He took out a sword from his storage bag and tossed it to Guan. "This is a mid-grade flying sword, ideal for Foundation Establishment realm cultivators. It's yours, use it to fight me." Then he himself took out a long spear. Impressive move. A longer weapon equals a stronger one? Guan held the flying sword, feeling helplessly amused. Zhou Tongyu looked a bit uneasy under Guan's gaze and quickly explained, "Same rules, no spiritual power, just techniques. Let's begin." This time, Zhenqin and Su Han also heard the commotion and hurried over. But before they reached the valley entrance, Guan made his move. He threw the flying sword directly at Zhou Tongyu. Zhou Tongju's pupils dilated, thinking it was fast. No, his strength is tremendous. Zhou Tongyu dodged sideways, followed by thrusting his spear forward as he saw Guan following the flying sword. In a flash, Guan tilted his head, grabbed the spear shaft with his left hand, pulled it back and with his right hand, made a sword gesture pointing at Zhou Tongyu. Everything happened so fast that Yi Yan couldn't keep up with his eyes. When they stopped, Guan's fingers were already at Zhou Tongju's Adam's apple. Zhou Tongyu still held his spear, but his body had stiffened. "How are you so fast? Are you really at the first layer of the Foundation Establishment realm?" Zhou Tongyu asked through gritted teeth, sweating. Guan replied, "If spiritual power was used, you'd be faster. Your rules gave me an advantage. I'm no match for you. Why insist on beating me with such rules? We common cultivators have our pride too." He let go of his hands. Zhou Tongju's face turned red and he gritted his teeth. "I meant no insult to your pride. Farewell." He left hurriedly. Zhenqin and Su Han arrived. Guan ignored them, picked up the flying sword and walked into the valley. To the three disciples, his back radiated the aura of a master. A month later Zhou Tongyu returned, this time bringing more medicinal herb seeds, and Guan reluctantly accepted. This time, Guan defeated him in 3 moves, frustrating Zhou Tongyu but leaving a glimmer of hope. Zhou Tongji's generosity made Guan reluctant to drive him away. Time flew, year-end approached. Winter snow covered Tianya Valley. Guan patrolled the Medicine Valley with 3 monkey demons. After checking, he walked towards the loft, glancing at his lifespan. Although busy with planting this year, his lifespan grew steadily. With the outer sect disciples' chambers and Mystic Valley, he gained considerable lifespan. In a few years, when Tianya Valley and the 3rd Medicine Valley yielded harvests, his lifespan would soar. Just as Guan reached the loft, Luo Han approached, looking embarrassed and hesitant. "Where is your book recently? You want to read? I thought you didn't like it." "The Medicine Valley is boring. One needs something to relax the Taoist heart." "Alright, next time I'll bring the latest volume of Investiture of the Gods." Cough, cough, a few volumes of Green Hero Travelogue would be nice too. Chapter 55. Supreme Immortal Venerable, Sect Leader Deposed. Seeing Luo Han's embarrassed expression, Guan suddenly realized, so this guy likes this. He should have said so earlier. Guan immediately patted Luo Han's shoulder and smiled. "Brother Luo, I didn't expect your taste to be the same as mine. To be honest, compared to the battles and conflicts over Taoist traditions in the Investiture of the Gods, I prefer the calm interactions between people and the experience of traveling and enjoying the scenery. Those are what truly temper the Taoist heart." His words made Luo Han less embarrassed and a smile appeared on his face. The two began to have an enjoyable conversation about the Green Hero Travelogue, bringing them closer together. However, Luo Han was still reserved and refrained from discussing the romantic aspects of the Green Hero Travelogue, only talking about the fascinating landscapes and peculiar news. Teasing the serious Luo Han brought Guan a lot of joy. From now on, Tianya Valley would not be so dull. Time flew by and 3 years passed swiftly. Another summer arrived. Guan was already 38 years old. Starting this year, the 3rd Medicine Valley would welcome its first batch of mature medicinal herbs, which he eagerly anticipated. As for Tianya Valley, they were cultivating high-rank medical herbs, so it would still take some time. That morning, Guan was leading the disciples in the Mystic Valley for their morning exercises. Although Zhenqin and the other 2 had gone to the 3rd Medicine Valley, 3 new servant disciples had arrived, keeping Mystic Valley lively. While Guan was twisting his waist, he suddenly sensed something and smiled. Xiaochuan noticed his smile and couldn't help but ask, "Senior brother, why are you smiling?" "Nothing, just keep practicing." Guan brushed him off and Xiaochuan stopped asking. After a while, the exercises ended, and the disciples dispersed while Guan walked towards his own tower. Just as he reached downstairs, he heard a sound breaking through the air from afar. He turned and saw someone flying towards him on a sword. It was Leia. After many years, Leia still wore a black robe, but his temperament had changed, and a lock of white hair added to his sense of experience. From a distance, Leia saw Guan, and a smile appeared on his usually stern face, melting his cold demeanor. Leia's cultivation level had reached the 9th layer of the Foundation Establishment realm, and Guan felt that he was even stronger than Ji Lin from back then, estimating that he wasn't far from the core formation. After landing, Leia opened his arms and hugged Guan, making his body a bit stiff. "Not bad, you've reached Foundation Establishment. It seems you've worked hard," Leia said, pinching Guan's shoulder with a satisfied smile. Guan naturally freed himself from his grasp and smiled. "You're finally back. Was everything smooth?" Leia shook his head and said, "Not smooth, but it was a blessing in disguise. Let's go inside and talk." Guan nodded and led him upstairs. An hour later. In the loft, Guan and Leia sat facing each other, drinking wine, and listening to Leia's experiences over the years made Guan feel deeply moved. "It feels like it could be written into a book," Guan commented. Leia laughed. "Indeed, although I escaped death many times, it made me who I am today." Over the years, Leia had traveled south in search of the legacy of a divinity transformation cultivator, competing with various geniuses. After barely making it through, the divinity transformation cultivator tried to possess him, but fortunately he survived. Although he didn't say how he avoided the possession, Guan assumed it was related to the soul within him. After escaping the divinity transformation calamity, Liya acquired a sword intent in the cave of that cultivator. He spent 3 years refining it, transforming his entire sword intent. Afterwards, when returning from Jizhou in the south, he encountered more obstacles, such as saving a woman oppressed by a local prominent family. Unfortunately, after he left, he heard that she and her family were forced to death. This tragic incident spread widely among the people, so he returned and slaughtered that family, sparking much debate in that region. The local authorities chased Liya for a few days before giving up, even withdrawing the bounty on him. When Liya spoke of this experience, his tone wasn't very sad, just a bit cold. Guan poured Liya another drink and Liya suddenly asked, "Junior brother Gu, why do you think we cultivate immortality? Is it just to pursue the illusory longevity? Throughout history, has there ever been someone who truly attained immortality?" Hearing this, Guan poured himself a drink and said, "I don't know what immortal cultivators should ultimately pursue. I only know that while living you should feel at ease. Whatever makes you feel at ease, do it. I plant flowers and herbs every day. To many it seems like wasting the years of cultivation, but I find it interesting. The medicinal herbs I plant can help the sect, and isn't that somewhat meaningful?" He didn't find Liya hypocritical. After experiencing certain things, one would naturally feel confused. After hearing this, Liya held his cup, lost in thought. He thought for an hour. Guan didn't disturb him, instead pulling out the Green Hero Travelogue to read. After finishing his thoughts, Liya's eyes became bright. He looked at Guan and said, "Great truths are never found in temples, junior brother Gu. Thank you, I think I know what to do now." He stood up and took out a white jade bottle from his storage bag, saying, "This is an elixir made from 1,000-year-old spirit fat. It can temper the muscles and bones but should be taken no more than twice a year. I must return to form my core now." Before Guan could stop him, he jumped out of the window and left. Guan fell silent. Why did this guy love jumping out of windows? His gaze turned to the white jade bottle on the table. Why does everyone love giving him gifts? Guan looked helpless but still put the bottle into his storage bag. The summer evenings came late. Guan arrived at the third medicine valley. As soon as he stepped off the teleportation array, he saw Zhen Qin, Su Han, Yi Yan, and Zhou Tongyu happily chatting in a nearby pavilion. Guan immediately walked over. In the middle of an animated discussion, Zhou Tongyu noticed Guan and smiled. The others followed his gaze and quickly stood up. At the pavilion, Guan asked with a bit of annoyance, "Why are you here again? Haven't you emptied your storage bag yet?" 3 years had passed, and Zhou Tongyu had visited no less than 10 times, each time bringing medicinal herbs, elixirs and magic artifacts. The last time they sparred, Guan barely beat him in 10 moves, winning unconvincingly. Well, his acting was unconvincing too. Zhou Tongyu laughed, "Don't worry, this time I'm not here to spar but to say goodbye. I'm leaving. I've been at the Supreme Sect for many years, and you're the one friend I've truly made, and I acknowledge you." "Friend?" Guan didn't know how to respond. Yi Yan looked at Zhou Tongyu with some reluctance. Over the years, Zhou Tongyu had guided him in his cultivation each time he visited, almost like a half-master. "What do you mean by being here for many years? Are you not a disciple of the Supreme Sect?" Zhen Qin asked in surprise, her eyes wide. Su Han and Yi Yan's expressions also changed dramatically. They all had the same thought in their minds. Could this person be a spy from the demon path? Zhou Tongyu smiled in pride. "Forget it, I wanted to keep a low profile to avoid pressure on you. Now that I'm leaving, you'll stop pretending. I'm Zhou Tongyu from Jueshan Sect." Upon hearing this, Zhen Qin and the others were stunned, which made Zhou Tongyu feel even more pleased. He even raised his chin and looked at Guan, anticipating a shocked expression. Guan's expression drastically changed, making Zhou Tongju's mood soar. However, Zhen Qin suddenly asked sharply, "Are you famous?" Zhou Tongju's pupils slowly dilated, and he stood frozen. Guan worried he might change his mind and want to stay, so he said, "Indeed, very famous, suppressing the entire younger generation of the Supreme Sect. Didn't expect this. Forgive me, forgive me." Upon hearing this, Zhou Tongju's expression relaxed, and Zhen Qin and the others, following Guan's cue, began exclaiming in surprise. "My heavens! Did I hear it wrong? It's actually you, how could it be?" Zhou Tongju's face twitched. For some reason their words felt harsh to him. He took a deep breath and said, "Your Supreme Sect is about to undergo major changes. Be careful, take care. If fate allows, we will meet again." Having said that, he leaped and transformed into a light beam, flying towards the sky. The three disciples were stunned by his movement technique and watched in a daze as he left. Guan waved his hand and said, "Disperse now, practice well, and form your foundation establishment soon, so you won't be unworthy of meeting him again." The three promptly paid respects and left. Guan pondered Zhou Tongji's words. Major changes in the Supreme Sect? He hoped it wouldn't affect his Medicine Valley. Turning around, he headed towards his tower. After entering the room, he closed the door, walked to the desk, and took out a pen and paper, beginning to draft Gu Zong and his son's book. The final volume of Investiture of the Gods had already been sent to the book collection hall. Next, it was time to write a new book. After the Investiture of the Gods, the next obvious choice was Journey to the West, but he feared its impact might be too significant, so he decided to set it aside for now and write a novel about Gu Zong and his son to cool things down, making Pan and look less like an immortal reincarnate. Recently, the Outer Sect disciples had praised Pan and as if he were an immortal incarnate, making Guan uneasy. He planned to use classic web novel plots from his previous life for the second book. Gu Zong had cultivated for 500 years, renowned in the immortal cultivation world, and was the Supreme Sect's strongest elder. In the year his Taoist friend gave birth to a son, the demon path invaded, and the Supreme Sect faced annihilation. Gu Zong used his divine skills to call upon the powers of heaven and earth, wiping out the demon path, but he fell into a space rift caused by his divine skills. The world believed him dead, not knowing that he had landed on a deserted island overseas, where he accidentally discovered an immortal's legacy. 20 years later, Gu Zong returned to find his son, Gu Yu, demoted to a servant disciple because someone had taken his heavenly spirit root. Zhou Tongyu was the same age as Gu Yu, and the two had been close since childhood. Even after Gu Ye's demotion, Zhou Tongyu looked forward to his rise. Over the subsequent centuries of enmity, they became the pillars of the Supreme Sect, protecting the peace of the immortal cultivation world. After pondering, Guan's eyes sparkled. He began writing. Chapter 1: The Fallen Genius. The year after Zhou Tongyu left, in the spring, Guan went to the Outer Sect to submit his manuscript. Lu Chang was very interested in his Supreme Immortal Venerable and chatted with him for a long time. Upon leaving the book collection hall, Guan overheard disciples discussing that the sect leader LV Badian had suffered a deviation during cultivation and had fallen, with Elder Chu Tianqi taking over as sect leader. Guan was shocked. The sect leader had been killed? He quickly left the outer gate city and headed for the third Medicine Valley. Upon entering the valley, he saw Gu Yu waiting, with an elderly man with a hunched back standing behind him. The old man was thin, with white hair, wearing tattered clothes, and was scanning all the gardens. Seeing Guan flying in on his sword, Gu Yu smiled and stood up, saying, "You finally returned. This is an old relative of my father. You can call him Elder Tian. His spirit root qualification is poor, destined never to reach foundation establishment. He will stay in the Medicine Valley and assist you, so feel free to give him any task." Guan's eyes turned to the old man, his expression changing slightly. LV Badian, Energy Cultivation Realm 6th Layer 742/850/3200. Chapter 56 Heavenly Destiny returns to G. LV Badian. Isn't that the recently deceased sect leader? Guan speculated many possibilities, but his expression did not change much. He curiously asked, "Since he is your father's distant relative, why not arrange a better place for him? This Medicine Valley is dirty and tiring." Gu Yu smiled and said, "The Supreme Sect wasn't built by my father, and being placed in this Medicine Valley is already better than the Medicine Valley in the Outer Sect." From his demeanor, it seemed that he didn't know Elder Tian's true identity. Guan found it difficult to refuse directly. Refusing would mean he knew Elder Tian's true identity. Gu Yu pulled Guan upstairs, and throughout, Elder Tian did not look back at Guan even once. After entering the room, Gu Yu closed the door. He turned around excitedly and asked, "How is it? The book should be ready, right?" Guan smiled and said, "It's ready. After deep consideration, I made you the protagonist." "Really? Really, you'll be able to see it soon." Guan nodded with a smile. The name Pan and was already famous in the Taitsong immortal cultivation world. His second book, with the name Supreme Sect in it, would definitely be heavily promoted by the sect. This book was to satisfy the upper echelons. After this one, Guan wouldn't write about them anymore. It was worth mentioning that the book collection hall had allotted him an additional 20% of the profits this time. This was conceded by the Supreme Sect. Upon hearing Guan's words, Guyu became immediately exhilarated. He took out a spirit stone from his storage bag and heavily placed it on the table, saying, "Thank you." Guwen glanced at the spirit stone on the table, raising his eyebrows. What a rich spiritual energy. Guyu proudly smiled and said, "This is a supreme-grade spirit stone, equivalent in value to 100 top-grade spirit stones. I only have 2 of these given to me by my mother. Sincere enough, right? You can write without worries, I can handle everything else for you." 100 top-grade spirit stones? Guwen was stunned. This guy was truly extravagant. The wealth disparity in the immortal cultivation world was just too vast. 1 supreme-grade spirit stone was equivalent to 1 million low-grade spirit stones, while a servant disciple's monthly salary was just 1 low-grade spirit stone. Rich fool. Guwen felt a pang of envy but accepted the supreme-grade spirit stone with a smile, saying, "I won't let you down." Guyu became highly excited and began asking about the book's details, but Guwen kept his lips tight, making Guyu even more eager. Not long after, Guyu left and Guwen guessed he was heading to the book collection hall. After bidding farewell to Guyu, Guwen came in front of Elder Tian and introduced himself. Elder Tian did the same, maintaining a respectful demeanor, with no sign of being the supreme sect leader. The 742 years old Elder Tian had a current lifespan of 850 years, meaning he could live only another 108 years. Guwen speculated it was related to his injuries. At the sect leader's level, the current lifespan should be near 2,000 years. Then Guwen took him on a tour, introducing the situation of Medicine Valley and explaining what he should usually do. Elder Tian listened carefully, occasionally asking about the types of herbs they passed by, seeming genuinely interested in farming life. Could it be he truly fell from grace due to deviation? When Guwen previously heard of the sect leader's plight, he instinctively thought the sect leader had been ambushed. After all, the sect leader's struggle with the elders had lasted for many years. Now looking at Elder Tian's state, it didn't seem so. Lifespan detection couldn't lie to him. The person before him was indeed the sect leader, LV Badian. The arrival of Elder Tian did not change the rhythm of life in the Third Medicine Valley. Zhen Qin and the other 2 mostly spent their time cultivating and rarely interacted with him. However, Guwen would chat with Elder Tian every time he returned. Half a year passed quickly. Autumn arrived and falling leaves drifted into Tianya Valley. Guwen stood on the path in the garden, watching 3 monkey demons sweep the fallen leaves. In the distance, Luo Hun sat on the hillside, holding the green hero travelogue and reading intently. His spear stood beside him, absorbing strands of spiritual energy that formed a faint vortex. Suddenly, Guwen sensed something, glancing into the distance. He looked only once before retracting his gaze. Soon after, a figure walked from the mouth of the valley. The person was dressed in a black and white long robe, exuding elegance, holding a folding fan. Li Xiandao. After many years, the Emperor of Taikang's demeanor was still the same. Guwen turned his head and cast a lifespan detection. Divinity Transformation Realm, 9 layers. On the hillside, Luo Hun also noticed Li Zuando's arrival. He quickly stood up, put the green hero travelogue into his storage bag, and then descended the mountain, spear in hand. Luo Hun first paid respects to Li Xiandao, followed by Guwen. As Li Xiandao walked towards the Medicine Valley Pavilion, he turned to Guwen beside him and asked, "How is it? Are you satisfied with this Medicine Valley of mine?" Guwen replied, "Very satisfied, it exceeded my expectations. Some high-rank medicinal herbs are completely new to me. Fortunately, Your Majesty provided me with a medicinal herb chronicles." "Have you forgotten how I previously instructed you?" "Uncle. That's more like it." Li Xiandao laughed heartily, while the expression of Luo Hun, standing on the other side, turned subtle. "Uncle." Luo Hun seemed to realize something and his gaze became strange. The 3 of them, chatting and laughing, arrived in front of the pavilion. Li Xiandao sat down at the stone table, and Luo Hun immediately poured wine for him. Li Xiandao raised his hand, signaling Guwen to sit as well. He looked at Guwen and asked, "Liya should have returned to the Supreme Sect, right?" Guwen nodded and said, "He returned last year." "Did he tell you about his experiences over the years?" "Yes, Uncle should have sent people to follow him, right?" "Who would dare to follow him? It's just that there are informants everywhere. Tell me, how could a Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator escape from the possession of a Divinity Transformation Realm Great Cultivator? What secret is he hiding?" As Li Xiandao asked this, he lifted his wine cup, drank it in one gulp, and then smiled at Guwen. Guwen frowned and said, Secret? He didn't tell me and it's not something I can ask directly. Li Xiandao smiled knowingly and said, "This son of mine has been of ordinary talent since childhood, the least talented among all my children. But ever since he joined the Supreme Sect, he has soared, constantly surprising me. His growth pleases me greatly, I just fear he might be taken advantage of by someone with ill intentions." Looking at his expression, Guan found it hard to judge his attitude toward Li Ya. However, regardless, Guan's heart was certainly inclined towards Li Ya. "Then he'll try to subtly inquire in the future," Guan said thoughtfully. He said so but had no intention of actually asking. Li Xiandao nodded in satisfaction. He turned to Luo Hun standing nearby and asked with a smile, "Luo Hun, do you think Li Ya has the potential to be the crown prince?" Luo Hun's expression changed slightly, and he responded in a deep voice, "Your servant dare not speak out of turn. You really are no fun." Li Xiandao shook his head and laughed. His gaze then turned to Guan, who quickly said, "Uncle, please don't ask me such questions. I don't want to get involved in trouble. I just want to grow herbs and flowers for you." Ha ha ha. Li Xiandao laughed heartily, grabbing the wine jar beside him and pouring it directly into his mouth, much more boldly than before. Then he picked up another wine jar and continued to drink. Guan sensed something was wrong. This emperor had concerns. Luo Hun noticed it too and frowned as he asked, "Your Majesty, has something happened?" After drinking 3 jars of wine in one go, Li Xiandao laughed and said, "There's no big deal. You've read the Investiture of the Gods, haven't you?" Luo Hun nodded and said, "It's well written. Didn't you like it too?" "I do like it, but recently some used the Investiture of the Gods to criticize me, saying I am King Zhou, and the Li family's rule has lasted for 500 years, so it's time for a change. Heavenly destiny belongs to the Ji family." In recent years, the Ji family has frequently sent their disciples to various places to slay demons and exterminate evil, earning a great reputation and popular support. Li Xiandao chuckled. Guan's heart skipped a beat. Luo Hun was furious and said in a deep voice, "Your Majesty, who says that the heavenly destiny belongs to the Ji family? Your servant is ready to take orders at any time, even if it means killing Pan En." "Good heavens! I won't bring you the Green Hero travelogue again." Guan was inwardly indignant, while his face showed a look of concern. Li Xiandao snorted and said, "Foolish, killing Pan En would only confirm that I am narrow-minded, unable to tolerate even a writer." Hearing this, Guan was very satisfied with Li Xiandao. "This is a wise ruler. Your Majesty, don't worry. They'll write Journey to the West next, and the Emperor in it will have the surname Li. Although Journey to the West has a critical element, it targets the Jade Emperor. The portrayal of Li Shimin in the book is still quite good. Though there is no heavenly court in this world, there is an immortal cultivation world. Criticizing the immortal cultivation world also fits well with the current cultivator's expectations of Pan En, as long as he doesn't directly name the Supreme Sect." As Guan was contemplating, Luo Hun remained furious. The prefects of various states all have backgrounds and are increasingly slipping out of the court's control. Now there is widespread public discontent. Criticizing me through the Investiture of the Gods is likely just their first step. One day swords will be pointed directly at me. I need to build my own power. The Tianya Valley plays a crucial role, don't let me down." Li Xiandao said with a smile. He stood and walked towards the garden, with Guan and Luo Hun hurriedly following. It was 3 full days before Li Xiandao finally left. During these 3 days, Li Xiandao often hinted at his expectations for Li Ya to Guan. The more he did so, the more Guan felt it wasn't that simple. Still, he just let his words go in one ear and out the other, avoiding getting involved in their father-son matters. After Li Xiandao left, Guan also decided to leave. Before departing, Luo Hun instructed him to stop bringing Investiture of the Gods and only bring the Green Hero travelogue. In response, Guan chuckled. Seasons changed and another 3 years passed. This year, Tianya Valley saw the first batch of medicinal herbs mature, and Guan harvested nearly 5,000 years of lifespan in one go, leaving him in a pleasant mood. Starting this year, his annual lifespan income would soar. Currently, his total lifespan had exceeded 70,000 years, and he was set to keep striving for 1,000,000 years. On that day, Guan took Su Han and Zhen Qin to the outer sect. Both had reached foundation establishment. Besides continuous cultivation, Guan had also refined many low-rank elixirs for them, aiding their smooth foundation establishment. After sending them to the Hall of Elders in the outer sect, he turned to leave. Servant disciples had to register their identities at the Hall of Elders to officially become outer disciples. As he walked past a street, a familiar voice called out, "Senior brother, long time no see." Guan turned and saw LV Jiojia, dressed in black from the Demon Extermination Hall, walking towards him, followed by 6 disciples from the same hall. "How have you been?" Guan asked with a smile. Since the change in the sect leader, the Demon Extermination Hall had gained momentum, even surpassing the Law Enforcement Hall. It was common to encounter their members in the outer gate city. LV Jiojia came up to him, nodding and said, "Pretty good. Master just promoted me. Besides better treatment, I have more authority now. Senior brother, if you ever need anything, feel free to come to me." He took out a black token from his storage bag and handed it to Guan. Chapter 57 Immortal Venerable's Grace, Daotian Sect Holy Daughter. Guan held the token of the Demon Extermination Hall and did not refuse. He looked at Lu Jiojia and smiled with relief. "Not bad. You've now become the person you wanted to be back then." Hearing this, Lu Jiojia felt even more delighted. He smiled and said, "The past few years were indeed like walking on thin ice. I didn't dare to contact you, fearing I might implicate you. Now that the storm has passed, we can keep in touch more often." After a few words of small talk, Lu Jiojia hurriedly left with his entourage, saying that he had to catch a demon path spy. Guan watched his departing figure, feeling slightly conflicted. The reputation of the Demon Extermination Hall was not good. It was both the most powerful hall within the outer sect and the most hated. It was said that if you offended someone from the Demon Extermination Hall, as long as they labeled you a demon path spy, you were as good as dead. Guan clearly felt the disdainful and hateful glances toward him from the people around. He stopped thinking about it and turned to leave. An hour later, he arrived at the 3rd Medicine Valley. As soon as he reached the entrance, he saw Elder Tian standing in front of the stele, stroking his beard, lost in thought. Over the years, Guan had become familiar with Elder Tian, who behaved like a servant disciple. Zhen Qin, Su Han, and Yi Yan had not noticed anything unusual about him, and Guan treated him as a servant disciple too. "Elder Tian, why are you standing here?" Guan greeted as he walked toward him. Elder Tian looked at Guan with a kind smile. His eyelids were almost closed, giving the impression that he was 1 foot in the grave. "Valley Master, I was pondering why this valley is called the 3rd Medicine Valley. Could it be that you have 2 other medicine valleys?" Elder Tian asked with a smile. Guan walked up to the stele and chuckled, "Not at all. Besides this valley, I only have 1 other medicine valley. The reason it's called the 3rd Medicine Valley is my principle in life, which is not to strive for 1st or 2nd, but to aim for 3rd. I believe that being too prominent attracts trouble. The top 3 are all excellent, but 3rd place is the safest." When Elder Tian heard this, his eyelids lifted slightly as he fell into thought. Guan patted his shoulder and smiled. "Today I brought roasted chicken and fine wine for us to taste. This spirit chicken cost me 10 low-grade spirit stones from the outer sect." Elder Tian snapped out of his thoughts and followed him. Yi Yan was not practicing his spear technique at the valley entrance but on a path in the central garden. He stood straight, holding the spear in one hand with his eyes closed, saying he was feeling the connection between himself and the spear. Guan did not interfere with Yi Yan's spear technique or body tempering technique as he had no interest in spear techniques, and he already had the mystic yellow dragon energy skill as his body tempering technique. "Yenner, come drink with us and celebrate that your senior brothers and sisters have become outer disciples," Guan called out loudly. Elder Tian curiously asked, "All these years you've refined all your medicinal herbs into elixirs for the disciples. What's in it for you? Even if they are grateful now, over time the relationship will fade. Why not use the resources on yourself? And me, am just an old man who doesn't know how long he can live. Giving elixirs to me is a waste, isn't it?" After spending several years together, Elder Tian had developed a good opinion of Guan. Guan treated him well, unlike other disciples who ignored him, and even shared elixirs to help him increase his cultivation level. Before his cultivation level fell, Elder Tian never imagined there would be such a selfless person within the Supreme Sect. He even regretted his previous disregard for the outer sect. Guan laughed, "I have mediocre qualifications. Being too obsessed with improving my cultivation would only bring me anguish. It's better to give hope to the younger generation. As for you, Elder Tian, although you are older than me, you're still my disciple, so I naturally treat you equally. Even if your cultivation level doesn't improve much, it will enhance your chi blood, allowing you to live better, right?" His gaze shifted to Yi Yan, a smile on his face. The sunlight illuminated his profile, which unexpectedly moved Elder Tian. Elder Tian suddenly recalled the words of Gu Zong when recommending Guan, "Don't be fooled by that kid's low cultivation level." The fact that he wrote the investiture of the gods shows his broad mind. After gaining fame and fortune, he still devotes himself to the Medicine Valley, tirelessly contributing to the Supreme Sect. In terms of character and demeanor, I believe he surpasses great cultivators of the void-crossing realm. Thinking about this, Elder Tian's mouth curled into a smile, seemingly infected by Guan's warmth. Soon, the three of them gathered around a stone table, drinking and eating meat. Guan shared his encounters of the day. Besides Jinqin and Su Han, he also mentioned the Demon Extermination Hall to gauge Elder Tian's reaction. However, Elder Tian remained indifferent, focusing on his chicken leg. Yi Yan chimed in, "I think the Demon Extermination Hall is quite good. Recently in Mystic Valley, there were several encounters with demon cultivators. The outer sect is indeed too chaotic. The bad reputation of the Demon Extermination Hall might be fueled by demon path spies behind the scenes." Guan nodded. It was a possibility. Since the establishment of the Demon Extermination Hall, Mystic Valley had not seen any demon cultivators, nor had any spies from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion come for him. "Master, once I reach the Foundation establishment, I don't want to stay in the Supreme Sect. I want to join the military," Yi Yan suddenly said. "Goodness. Saying you want to jump ship right in front of the former sect leader?" Guan asked. "Why?" Yi Yan's face was firm. "The Supreme Sect values spirit root qualification. For someone like me, it's hard to stand out. Also, joining the military allows me to slay demons and save the populace. My parents were killed by demons. I vowed from a young age that once I learned spells, I would travel the world as a wandering hero, slaying demons and monsters." Elder Tian looked at him and nodded slightly. Guan smiled. "I didn't expect you to have such grand ambitions. Master supports you." Yi Yan smiled, immediately lifting a bowl of wine to toast Guan, then poured another bowl to clink with Elder Tian. The atmosphere became even more harmonious. After opening up, Yi Yan spoke more than usual, making Elder Tian talkative as well. "Master, will you transfer disciples from Mystic Valley?" Yi Yan asked. Guan shook his head. "Let's wait until you reach Foundation establishment. I'm afraid others might disturb your path enlightenment. With Elder Tian and me we can manage." Each area was already running smoothly and daily chores were not many. Hearing this, Yi Yan felt even more touched. Guan began to envision the future with him, drinking spiritual wine one jar after another until he became drunk. At the end of summer, the scorching heat of the world was receding. Guan stood on the grass of Mystic Valley, watching 4 cultivators from the Demon Extermination Hall fly away, silently. Wuxia approached saying, "Senior brother, what are you daydreaming about? There are so many boxes. Aren't you going to check them?" Those 4 were sent by Lu Jujia to deliver gifts to Mystic Valley. After waiting half a day for Guan to return, they finally left. Guan withdrew his gaze, looked at Wuxia and smiled. "You do the counting. They're probably medicinal herbs." Wuxia's face lit up. This feeling of being trusted was wonderful. Now, Guan had handed over the management of Mystic Valley entirely to Wuxia. He only came to pick the herbs, and Wuxia had no objections to this. Guan helping to shoulder part of the labor was something he could not resist. He sought power not to drive Guan away. Without Guan he felt Mystic Valley lacked something. Therefore, during Guan's absence, he focused almost entirely on cultivating. Guan turned and walked toward the transmission array platform. After a while he arrived at the 3rd Medicine Valley. Since Jinqin and Su Han became outer disciples, this Medicine Valley had become very deserted. After finishing his work, Yi Yan would go to practice his spear, and Elder Tian was a man of few words. Guan stepped off the array platform and saw Elder Tian squatting in the garden, admiring a 4th-grade medicinal herb. The old man often dazed off, something Guan had gotten used to. He entered the pavilion and took out the Ziwei Array Chronicles. For the past year, he had been secretly studying the Ziwei Array Chronicles and gained considerable insights. Hours later, Guan sensed something, immediately placing the Ziwei Array Chronicles back into his storage bag, then waited in the house. Guan, come out quickly." Guan heard Guy's call, his voice growing louder as he descended. The rascal started shouting as soon as he landed. He stood up and walked out of the pavilion, standing on the 2nd-floor balcony, and saw Gu Zong and Guyu flying in on a golden wheel at lightning speed. After landing, Gu Zong stored the magic artifact in his sleeve, and Guyu stepped forward excitedly. Guan, you're, ahem. Gu Zong cleared his throat and Guyu realized something, promptly closing his mouth. Guan stood upstairs, smiling. Come up and talk. Guyu nodded and quickly went upstairs while Gu Zong turned back and waved to Elder Tian. The four gathered in the second-floor room, and Gu Zong raised his hand, casting a spell, forming 2 restrictions at the windowsill. Guyu pulled Guan to sit down, saying excitedly, the Supreme Immortal Venerable is a complete success. The entire immortal cultivation world is watching, and even the surrounding dynasties and sects are buying this book from the Supreme Sect. Haha, a few years ago when Supreme Immortal Venerable first came out, many mocked Panin for losing his talent. Who would have thought that now everyone would be eager to read it, all expecting me, Guyu, to prove my genius? Seeing his excitement, Guan couldn't help but smile. The success of the Supreme Immortal Venerable didn't surprise him at all. After all, such stories of meteoric rise and face-slapping strong opponents were an enormous emotional shock to the immortal cultivation world. Gu Zong said, we came today not just for this matter but it's related. The holy daughter of the Daotian sect is coming to the Supreme Sect to cultivate. She's coming for you. Daotian sect is from the Taizong dynasty's neighboring Great Yu dynasty, the leading sect in Great Yu. The holy daughter is the Daotian sect hierarch's daughter. Her coming will establish a long-term friendly relationship between the Supreme Sect and Daotian sect. At that time, he'll have to introduce the holy daughter of Daotian sect to you. Don't worry, this matter won't spread out. You will only need to meet her once. She's promised not to reveal your identity. Guan felt a headache coming on. I've become a part of foreign diplomacy? Gu Zong stroked his beard and laughed. The Supreme Immortal Venerable significantly boosted the development of the Supreme Sect. The Hall of Elders greatly appreciates you. If you can convince the holy daughter of the Daotian sect to stay, the Hall of Elders will reward you with a 7th-grade spirit tree seedling. Once grown, this tree will notably enhance the local spiritual energy, making it not difficult for you to achieve core formation, despite your qualifications. Originally, you were to receive a cultivation technique or high-rank Dharma artifact, but you said you avoid conflict and prefer gardening, so it was changed to a 7th-grade spirit tree. This tree will benefit the entire Medicine Valley, its advantages immeasurable. Chapter 58. If you were the sect leader, what would you do? 7th Order Spirit Tree. This is the grade of the Green Vine Tree. How could the Supreme Sect have a spirit tree comparable to the Holy Tree of the Thousand Autumn Pavilion? Could it be that the Green Vine Tree in the 8 Scenic Caves isn't a true holy tree or hasn't fully matured yet? Guan was immediately excited. He couldn't refuse such a treasure. Leaving the Holy Maiden, how difficult could it be? Doesn't she like to read? Write her an epilogue of the investiture of the gods. When will the Holy Maiden arrive? Guan took a deep breath and asked. He didn't show the joy in his heart, instead he pretended to be worried and deep in thought. Elder Gu Zong laughed and said, she will be here within a year at most. You don't need to feel pressured. Guyu teased from the side, don't worry about being asked to pledge yourself to her. The cultivation gap is obvious. She just likes your books. Guan nodded. He wasn't that narcissistic. There were many people in the world who liked the investiture of the gods. Elder Gu Zong looked at Elder Tian standing nearby and asked, how have you been here? Elder Tian nodded and said, pretty good. The Valley Master treats me well. Guan felt helpless. Elder Gu Zong had brought in a distant relative. Was he afraid Guan wouldn't suspect anything? No way. If you're going to play along, do it thoroughly. Guan looked at Elder Gu Zong and hesitated to speak. Elder Gu Zong seemed to notice his confusion and laughed. He has long known your identity as Panin. It's because he likes the investiture of the gods that I allowed him to come here. Besides him, only the Hall of Elders knows. Don't worry. We are more afraid of your identity being exposed than you are. Before the investiture of the gods appeared, disciples had always written books. But the impact that Panin brought was unprecedented. No one had thought that books could bring more disciples, cultivation resources, and even assist the sect in diplomatic relations with other powers. Especially after the Supreme Immortal Venerable was published, the entire world's eyes were on the Supreme Sect. Standing at a high position, Elder Gu Zong could see the clearest. Guan breathed a sigh of relief. Guyu suddenly said, Zhou Tongyu treats Guyu quite well. I take back what I said before. Don't let Guyu bully him. Guan looked at him with a strange expression. Elder Gu Zong laughed. My image is not bad either. No matter where I go, I can hear people mentioning my name, asking when I will return to deal with those evildoers for my son. Cough cough, revealing it early would spoil the suspense. True. Guan changed the topic and inquired about the holy maiden of the Daotian sect. He had to gather as much information as possible to better face the holy maiden. Elder Gu Zong began to introduce the holy maiden. Shenzhen, with 3 spirit roots, is the youngest daughter of the sect hierarch of the Daotian sect. Her talent isn't top-notch, but her understanding of musical spells is exceptionally high, and she loves the arts like playing musical instruments, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Just based on the introduction, Guan felt that Shenzhen's personality wasn't strong. If she liked the arts, she should have a good temperament. Late at night in the 8 scenic caves. Under the green vine tree, Guan was practicing swordsmanship, specifically the wood spirit sword technique. The wood spirit sword technique was a sword technique that Zuolin had taught Guan to test his depth. Although it wasn't rare, it could be bought in the outer gate city. Since it was of the wood attribute, Guan decided to practice it himself and not invest his lifespan into it. However, isn't real-world time also lifespan? With his extraordinary Taitsong divine shocking swordsmanship achievement and his current top-grade 5 elements heavenly spirit root, Guan found a sense of genius in the wood spirit sword technique. He had already mastered the wood spirit sword technique and was now pursuing a higher realm. Every cultivation technique, spell, and ultimate skill had minor realms. According to his summary, from low to high they were novice, initial insight, basic mastery, slight achievement, thorough comprehension, mastery, peak perfection, and returning to simplicity. It felt like leveling up in a game, which Guan found very interesting. The Wenzhonglong Sky Dragon watched Guan's sword practice from the tree. Now it had the majesty of a true dragon. Guan moved within a 3-zhang radius under the tree, creating afterimages. It seemed like nearly 10 of him were practicing swordsmanship. The heavenly resident's sword in his hand was extremely sharp, and strength energy radiated. This energy dissipated once it reached 2 zhang away, not harming the surrounding flora. After practicing for an ancient hour, Guan finally stopped. Clang, the heavenly resident's sword returned to its sheath, emitting a clear sound like a dragon's hum. He put the heavenly resident's sword into his storage bag, then stretched lazily. The sky dragon descended from the sky and spoke in a childish voice, "Master, you're amazing. Can you teach me?" Guan looked at it and jokingly asked, "Can your dragon claws hold a sword? Using my claws as swords, can't I?" The sky dragon blinked its eyes and asked. Guan was stunned for a moment. There's something there. He immediately took out the wood spirit sword technique manual he had drawn from his storage bag and tossed it to the sky dragon, saying, "Then practice by yourself. If you don't understand something when I return, you can ask me." The sky dragon grabbed the manual with its claws and quickly said, "Don't forget to bring me roasted chicken." Guan nodded with a smile and then turned to leave. The sky dragon landed, placed the manual on the ground, and started flipping through it with its claws. After leaving the 8 scenic caves, Guan walked into the mountain forest. Under the night sky, the forest was covered in snow, but he didn't leave any footprints. Early the next morning, after accompanying the disciples in their exercises, Guan was about to head to the 3rd Medicine Valley when Yilan arrived. Since his junior sister had come, Guan naturally had to accompany her. The two went into the pavilion to chat. Guan first asked about her recent situation. Even if she was busy, she would visit Guan every year. It was impossible for Guan not to be moved by this. Starting from last year, disciples from the outer sect have often gone missing. Our law enforcement hall has investigated but couldn't find the real culprit. However, the Demon Extermination Hall always finds demon path spies who confess to the crimes. Yilan sighed. After the sect leader changed, she and Lu Jiujia no longer contacted each other. Mainly the two halls didn't get along, being like water and fire. Guan laughed and said, "Then let the Demon Extermination Hall catch them. It will give you more time to cultivate." Yilan shook her head and said, "It's not that simple. The hall master of the Demon Extermination Hall wants to merge with the Law Enforcement Hall, and the outer sect's great elder seems to have the same intention. If our hall doesn't perform, we will eventually be disbanded. It doesn't matter. If you get disbanded, come back. The elixirs I can provide are no less than the Law Enforcement Hall's benefits." "That's not acceptable. If you give them to me, what will you do?" Yilan directly refused with a serious expression. Seeing this, Guan didn't say more and changed the topic to other matters. Since Yilan wanted to stay a few more days, Guan decided to stay in the Mystic Valley until after the Spring Festival. After the Spring Festival, the winter snow completely melted. Guan first went to Qinghong Valley to harvest thousands of years of lifespan, then replanted. After spending 2 days there, he went to the third Medicine Valley. The Mystic Valley was crowded, and Qinghong Valley had 3 monkey demons, so it wasn't lonely. But the third Medicine Valley was different. Every time Guan came, it was deathly silent. Yi Yin and Elder Tian both enjoyed this quietness, not disturbing each other. Guan walked into a garden area and began harvesting mature medicinal herbs. Elder Tian came over and curiously asked, "Why do you always pick the herbs yourself?" Guan replied, "I have to do some work. And when I personally pick and package them, it gives me a sense of contributing to the sect." Upon hearing this, Elder Tian laughed, "You are indeed contributing, not just self-satisfying. I hope the higher-ups think the same." Guan laughed lightly as he harvested. Elder Tian suddenly asked, "If you were made sect leader, what would you do?" Guan's heart skipped a beat, but his actions didn't falter. He said annoyed, "Stop thinking about it. You're not the sect leader and you can't pass it to me. Besides, I can only manage the Medicine Valley, not the millions of disciples in the Supreme Sect. With my current cultivation level, who would respect me as the sect leader?" He didn't want to be the sect leader. He wanted to cultivate in peace, not face pressure. If he became the sect leader, he couldn't escape if he encountered an invincible enemy. Guan wasn't loyal enough to lay down his life for the Supreme Sect. Elder Tian chuckled and stopped pressing the issue. After Guan finished harvesting, they both walked towards the pavilion. "I actually know an incredible cultivation technique. Do you want to learn it?" Even Elder Guzong doesn't know about it, Elder Tian suddenly asked. "I don't want to learn. Isn't writing books better? You know I don't cultivate much, relying on elixirs to progress." "You're still young, why are you? You don't understand. This is called enjoying life. I like to go with the flow. Of course that's just me, everyone has different pursuits." Guan said casually. Why was this old fellow talking so much today? Trying to ruin my Taoist heart? Elder Tian wanted to continue, but suddenly there was a sound from the sky. The two turned to look and saw Elder Guzong flying over on a magic artifact, with a woman in black standing behind him, her face covered by a veil, revealing only her bright, enchanting eyes. The holy maiden of the Daotian sect had arrived? Guan asked Elder Tian to take the herbs inside while he went to greet Elder Guzong and the woman. He cast a lifespan detection. Shenzhen, Core Formation Realm 2nd Layer 78/660/1050. After landing, Elder Guzong laughed and said, "Guan, this is the holy maiden of the Daotian sect, Shenzhen. You must entertain her well." He turned to face Shenzhen. She raised her hand to salute him. He nodded and quickly left on his golden wheel. Shenzhen looked at Guan with her bright eyes, carefully examining him. Just by her eyes, one could imagine she was a rare beauty. Guan raised his hand in greeting and said, "I am Guan, greetings, Miss Shen." Shenzhen nodded slightly and curiously asked, "Which do you prefer, investiture of the gods or supreme immortal venerable? Testing me right from the start?" Guan's expression remained unchanged. "I like both. People can't just like one book. Different moods lead to wanting to read different books, don't you agree?" Shenzhen's eyes lit up. "I actually wrote a book too. Would you like to read it?" Shenzhen blinked her eyes and asked. Guan naturally didn't refuse. "Shall we look at it upstairs?" Shenzhen nodded and followed Guan to the second floor of the pavilion. Guan wanted to leave the door open, as it could be awkward being a man and a woman alone in a room. But Shenzhen closed the door. They sat at a table and Shenzhen took out a book from her storage bag. Her brows furrowed as if hesitating. After some thought, she handed the book to Guan. When Guan took it and saw the title, his eyelid twitched. Black Hero's Travelogue? What the heck? Chapter 59, The Great Demon Catastrophe. That book title is not proper at all. Guan suddenly dared not open the book, fearing that the author of Green Hero's Travelogue might be Shenzhen. Then his admiration for the author would be shattered. But no, Shenzhen was from the Daotian sect of the Great Yu dynasty. How could she possibly publish a book in the Supreme Sect? Having thought it through, Guan calmed himself and began to read Black Hero's Travelogue. Shenzhen lowered her gaze to the table, her ears slightly red through her long hair. After finishing the first page, Guan let out a sigh of relief. She was not the author of Green Hero's Travelogue. The difference was clear between her writing and that of Green Hero's travelogue, but it was evident she was indeed imitating it. He patiently read on. Every story in Green Hero's travelogue began with the local landscape, first depicting the scenery, then the interactions between people. Black Hero's travelogue followed the same format. However, Shenzhen's experience was clearly not as rich as that of the author of Green Hero's travelogue. The description of the mountains and rivers in her book seemed lacking, at least in Guan's eyes. It didn't have the vivid imagery of Green Hero's travelogue. The room fell silent. Later on, Shenzhen got up and went to look at the bookshelf beside her. After nearly an hour, Guan finally closed Black Hero's travelogue. Shenzhen, holding a book, turned around and asked, "How was it?" Guan asked, "Do you like Green Hero's travelogue?" Standing by the bookshelf, Shenzhen nodded slightly and said, "Besides cultivation techniques, the first book I ever read was Green Hero's travelogue, but my favorite is still your Supreme Immortal Venerable." Alright, it was indeed quite conventional, but it was sincere. Guan smiled and said, "Actually, I really like Green Hero's travelogue too. It was because of reading it that I couldn't resist picking up a pen myself." Shenzhen immediately walked over, obviously more excited than before, her eyes sparkling as she began to discuss Green Hero's travelogue with Guan. Although her Black Hero's travelogue also had romantic elements, they weren't as explicit as those in Green Hero's travelogue, making it a more conventional book. Their relationship quickly grew closer through their shared love of Green Hero's travelogue. From Green Hero's travelogue, their conversation moved to Investiture of the Gods, and then to Supreme Immortal Venerable. After a long time, Guan couldn't help but ask, "Have you ever met the author of Green Hero's travelogue?" Shenzhen shook her head slightly and said, "Although I really like his Green Hero's travelogue, I feel he is not very proper and I don't wish to meet him." You are different, from Investiture of the Gods to Supreme Immortal Venerable. Your styles are so varied that I am very curious about you. Guan felt a little regretful upon hearing this. Who exactly was Green Hero? This was his greatest curiosity within the Supreme Sect. After writing Supreme Immortal Venerable, will you continue to write about Taoist tradition conflicts similar to Investiture of the Gods? Shenzhen asked, looking at Guan. Guan gave an ambiguous answer, "Probably." "What about you, Miss Shin? Will you be staying in the Supreme Sect?" Shenzhen smiled and said, "Is the Supreme Sect giving you pressure? Actually, we just need a nominal alliance. The Daotian sect also needs to ally with the Supreme Sect to deter other sects within the Great Yu dynasty and to face the Great Demon Catastrophe together." Guan raised an eyebrow and asked, "What is this Great Demon Catastrophe?" On this continent, there are 9 adjacent dynasties including Taizong and Great Yu. The 9 dynasties have expelled powerful demons, turning the regions outside the 9 dynasties into places overrun by demons. Now, the demons outside have become powerful enough to threaten the 9 dynasties. Even though various immortal cultivation sects often send disciples to exterminate demons, the vast regions outside always have some exceptionally talented demons that grow. Within 100 years, the 9 dynasties will face a demonic catastrophe not seen in thousands of years, during which dynasties will inevitably fall. As Shenzhen spoke of this, her eyes were full of gravity. Guan felt a sense of pressure assailing him upon hearing this. He had already imagined the scene of mountains and rivers shattering, the Supreme Sect struggling to hold the front lines, and forcibly conscripting servant disciples to the battlefield. No way. Within 100 years, he had to extend his lifespan to 1,000,000 years and unlock the next function to rapidly boost his cultivation level. Guan thought to himself and then asked, "If that's the case, why don't you focus on cultivation instead of writing books?" Shenzhen was not as talented as Ji Xiaoyu or Zhou Tongyu, nor even Li Ya, but her aptitude was not bad, and she had the backing of the Daotian sect. As long as she was willing to cultivate, she surely could advance further. Upon hearing this, Shenzhen chuckled and said, "Everyone has their own destiny. Cultivation is not my destiny. I prefer reading and writing. What if someday I gain enlightenment from books? Who says you must absorb nature's spiritual energy to gain enlightenment? Throughout all the books I've read, it seems no energy absorption cultivator has lived until the present." Guan couldn't help but look at her differently. She really dared to think big. After chatting for a while, Shenzhen prepared to leave and Guan stood up to see her off. When they got downstairs, she summoned a flying sword, leaped onto it, and left a parting remark as she flew towards the horizon. "Young Master Gu, I will set my cave residence nearby. Let's communicate more in the future." Watching her departing figure, a smile spread across Guan's face. He was not happy that Xinzhen was going to live nearby, but rather that the 7th grade spirit tree had been secured. The Supreme Sect acted quickly, and within 3 days of Xinzhen's departure, the sapling of the 7th grade spirit tree arrived, personally delivered by Gu Zong. After Gu Zong left, Guan carried the sapling of the 7th grade spirit tree to the central area of the compound. Though called a sapling, the tree was already 3 meters tall. Guan planted it on the grass connecting the 4 segments of the park, with Elder Tian and Yi Yan watching from behind. After planting it, Guan looked at the tree with a beaming smile on his face. Mystic Pure Tree, 7th grade 48/8999/65,000. A limited lifespan of 65,000 years, beyond compare for mortals. Elder Tian chuckled and said, "The Mystic Pure Tree is extraordinary. Though it doesn't bear fruit, cultivating beneath it can calm the mind and refresh the spirit." Guan's smile grew even brighter upon hearing this. He said, "Elder Tian, you must take good care of the Mystic Pure Tree and ensure no harm comes to it. Don't worry, since it's rooted, its life force is stronger than my old bones." Hearing Elder Tian's words, Guan shook his head and laughed. This old man had a bit of humor in himself. Then Guan turned and left. Elder Tian and Yi Yan stayed by the tree, chatting leisurely, and did not follow him. Guan made his way to the edge of the Medicine Valley near the mountain wall. In this grassy area, a tree had been planted, though it showed no signs of growth yet. It was the root of the 6th grade human face tree that Yilan had previously given him. This tree root had been buried for several years, still in a state of revival with its age at 0. Guan had tried to help it with his own wood attribute spiritual power, but it was like a bottomless pit, absorbing his spiritual power without any noticeable effect. He squatted in front of the root of the human face tree, which had only a wooden tip protruding from the soil. After watching it for a while, Guan suddenly felt a faint flow of spiritual energy from the ground towards the human face tree. Tracing the source, it came from the Mystic Pure Tree. Could the Mystic Pure Tree help the human face tree revive? Guan was delighted by this thought, but also a bit worried that the human face tree might drain the Mystic Pure Tree. After all, this thing came from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion, a name with somewhat ominous connotations. If the human face tree turned out to be an evil entity upon growing, Guan would uproot it. He couldn't allow it to destroy the 3rd Medicine Valley. Guan felt someone needed to keep an eye on it to prevent it from growing secretly. Yi Yan had reached the 8th floor of the energy cultivation realm, his cultivation level mainly relying on elixirs. He practiced his spear technique daily, but while this also involved absorbing nature's spiritual energy, it didn't significantly boost his cultivation. Once he left, it would be time to recruit some people. Just after the height of summer, the 43-year-old Guan arrived at the outer gate city. First, he submitted his manuscript, then wandered around the streets. He noticed that the outer gate city was not as bustling as before, with many disciples still passing through the streets, but most of them wore solemn expressions and spoke in hushed tones. Looking up, Guan saw 4 disciples from the Demon Extermination Hall descend from the sky, landing in front of a pavilion in the distance. They surrounded a disciple who had just exited the building and began questioning him. The disciple appeared quite annoyed, and a verbal clash ensued, leading to a fight. When one of the Demon Extermination Hall disciples displayed a token, the disciple backed down and obediently allowed them to take him away. After capturing demonic cultivator spies for so many years, haven't they caught them all yet? Guan frowned, feeling puzzled but having no intention of intervening. As long as they didn't target him, he was fine. He headed towards the Beast Hall, planning to raise a few demon beasts in the 3rd Medicine Valley so that Elder Tian wouldn't feel lonely. Elder Tian had been diligent and had earned Guan's favor. He now truly regarded Elder Tian as his own servant disciple. After an hour, Guan walked out of the Beast Hall's gate, 3 bags hanging from his waist. These were beast control bags, each containing a live creature, but one bag could only hold 1 demon beast. Just as he stepped outside, he coincidentally ran into Lu Jiujia. This time Lu Jiujia was alone. As he approached the Beast Hall, his face was gloomy, but upon seeing Guan, he immediately smiled and quickened his pace. "Senior brother, are you here to buy demon beasts?" Lu Jiujia asked warmly, though his face was paler than before, with a hint of malevolence between his brows, exuding a sinister aura. Guan nodded, asking with concern, "You don't look well. Is everything all right?" "What could be wrong? I've just been too tired from training lately." Lu Jiujia shook his head. Guan noticed a trace of demonic qi in his body, very subtle and hard to detect if not looked at closely. Had this guy become a demon cultivator? Since Lu Jiujia was unwilling to say more, Guan naturally didn't press further. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Lu Jiujia reminded him before parting, "Senior brother, avoid going out at night. Recently, there have been powerful demon cultivators infiltrating the outer gate." With that, he turned and left. Watching his retreating figure, Guan didn't think much of it and headed back towards the third Medicine Valley. Once he arrived at the third Medicine Valley, he released the 3 spirit dogs he had just bought. All 3 had second-grade demon beast bloodlines, making them quite expensive. "He'll be staying in the Mystic Valley for a while, so you take care of them," Guan instructed Elder Tian. Elder Tian nodded, and Guan turned towards the transmission array platform. Whether it was an illusion or not, Guan noticed that Elder Tian's gaze towards him seemed filled with concern. Before he could ponder it further, the formation activated, bringing him to the Mystic Valley. As soon as he arrived at the Mystic Valley, Guan felt a familiar presence. Liya. He stepped down from the array platform and looked towards the distance, seeing Liya instructing disciples on sword practice, with even Xiaochuan participating. After giving some instructions, Liya turned and headed towards Guan. When they met, Guan asked curiously, "What brings you here?" "Core Formation Realm, first layer." Reaching the Core Formation Realm at 45, just 5 years behind Jiang Qiong. Liya smiled lightly and said, "I came here to protect you. I heard that the Demon Lord from the Heavenly Extinction Sect has infiltrated the outer gate and I was worried about you. I plan to go to the inner sect only after this matter is resolved." Chapter 60, Ancestor Save Me. "Can you handle that Demon Lord?" Guan asked suspiciously. Liya laughed triumphantly, "I have already reached the core formation stage, don't underestimate me. In the Supreme Sect, the core formation realm is just an inner sect disciple. Can you really match up to the Demon Lord?" "You brat, I came here specifically to protect you and you're still complaining? I'm afraid it'll be like that time when you charged out to deal with the demon of greed and got injured and fell. Can we not bring that up?" The two started bickering, but Guan wasn't really angry. Liya could feel that Guan's concern was out of a good heart, not wanting to burden him. Little did he know that Guan wasn't worried about being a burden, but about being a hindrance. "Brother, if the Demon Lord comes and you're by my side, I won't be able to act." Guan couldn't express his true thoughts, and since Liya insisted on staying, he had to let it be. "By the way, have you seen junior brother Lu recently?" Guan asked. Liya shook his head. "I haven't seen him. I used to run into him, but he joined the Demon Extermination Hall, and I don't get along with the elders there, so we haven't kept in touch." Talking about this, his expression turned indifferent. He didn't care about Lu Jiujia at all. Though he was warm to Guan, he was actually very cold to everyone else. "Let's go upstairs and have a proper chat. I heard you acquired another Medicine Valley. Tell me all about it." Liya pulled Guan upstairs. They chatted late into the night. Guan didn't reveal his identity as Pan but instead told Liya that the harvest from Mystic Valley had pleased their superiors, hence he was given another Medicine Valley. Considering that Li Xiandao was criticized for the investiture of the gods, how dare Guan reveal his identity to Liya? What if Liya let it slip? After all, they were father and son. No matter how big the conflict, before a complete break, their relationship would still be closer than with Guan. As summer transitioned to autumn, the temperature was still quite hot. 10 days had passed since Liya came, and Mystic Valley hadn't encountered any danger during this time. Guan even went out to manage the caves of the outer sect disciples, with Liya insisting on accompanying him. However, upon reaching the caves he didn't go inside, fearing he might trouble Guan. Guan wanted Liya to stay in Mystic Valley to protect the disciples, but Liya didn't care about anyone else. As he said, teaching swordsmanship to those disciples was already a favor to Guan. That evening, Guan was picking ripe medicinal herbs, while Liya was meditating at the mountain peak on the west. The setting sun hung just above his head, giving him the aura of an unrivaled master. Suddenly, Guan sensed something, his right hand paused and then he continued picking the herbs. "There really is a Demon Lord, I hope he doesn't eye my Medicine Valley." Guan thought silently. The opponent's aura far exceeded the Foundation Establishment realm but did not pose a threat to his perception. The faint demonic aura began to drift away from Mystic Valley, which relieved him. Compared to gaining a few decades of lifespan from killing someone, he was more afraid of exposing his strength. As night fell, Guan was inside the house reading the Wuxia Chronicles, absorbed in the formations related to the wood attribute. His brows suddenly furrowed, followed by a sigh. Mystic Valley wasn't attracting trouble, but Liya drew the attention of the demon lord. On the mountain peak, Liya, who was meditating and absorbing energy, suddenly opened his eyes. He stood up and walked to the edge of the cliff, looking down at the forest below. About 100 feet away from his mountain, a mysterious figure like a ghost stood under a tree, gazing at him from afar. Under the moonlight, the mysterious figure almost blended into the darkness, visible only when close. Liya frowned, raised his hand pointing afar, and then leaped into the night sky. The mysterious figure turned into black mist and vanished without a trace. A stick of incense later, Liya landed beside a river in the mountains. This river flowed through the hills about 2 yards wide, shimmering under the moonlight. As soon as he landed, a mass of black mist appeared out of thin air on the meadow across the river, forming into a human figure. Liya asked, "You're not the demon lord of the Heavenly Extinction Sect. You seem to know me?" The mysterious figure responded in a hoarse voice, "Prince Liya, inheritor of Jizha's first sword cultivator's divinity transformation sword intent, meeting you is quite a pleasant surprise." Liya drew the treasure sword from his waist, pointing it at the shadow in the distance, playing tricks. As his voice fell, his body erupted with violent sword chi, causing his black robe to flutter like flames. 7 silver sword shadows swiftly formed around him, shining brightly under the night sky. "You dare defy me, a core formation stage?" The mysterious figure snickered disdainfully. He again turned into demonic chi and vanished, reappearing behind Liya almost instantly. Liya's pupils contracted. He leaped up, turning his body to slash backward. The 7 silver sword shadows swiftly shot towards the mysterious figure. Boom, boom, boom. The silver sword shadows hit the ground one after another, stirring up billowing dust, causing nearby trees to shake violently. Liya, still in midair, hadn't seen whether the mysterious figure was hit when a strong wind swept past, sending him flying horizontally. Liya plummeted into the forest like an arrow, crashing through trees for several hundred feet before he finally came to a stop. As the dust settled, Liya, covered in blood, leaned against a tree trunk, which was filled with cracks and still trembling. The mysterious figure appeared in midair, looking down at Liya. "Boy, having just reached the core formation stage, you dare to oppose me? Do you know my realm?" Liya struggled to raise his head, seeing his vision stained with blood. "Damn it!" Liya gritted his teeth, trying hard to stand up but to no avail. "Sai, why do you always get hurt, boy? You're not just risking your own life, you're putting your ancestor's life in danger too." An aged voice sounded in Liya's mind, full of helplessness. The mysterious figure raised his right hand, aiming at Liya from a distance, surrounded by demonic chi and shrouded in darkness, not revealing his true face. Just as he was about to speak, a hand engulfed in demonic chi pressed on his shoulder, making him freeze entirely. In an instant, branches sprouted from his body, mixed with blood, blooming like a flower in the air. The demonic chi dispersed, revealing a middle-aged man, his outer sect elder robes pierced by branches, his ferocious face showing an expression of disbelief. He turned his head, catching a glimpse of a purple-black figure standing behind him. "Demon Shadow Divine Skill, you." The middle-aged man trembled. Liya's eyes widened angrily. "Elder Qin, why is it you?" Before Elder Qin could respond, the storage bag at his waist was taken by the person behind him. Immediately, the branches on his body ignited with green fire, quickly burning him to ashes, taking both body and soul. The purple-black figure stood in midair, maintaining the posture of grabbing Elder Chen's shoulder. Liya below felt immense pressure, knowing that Elder Chen was a great cultivator of the nascent soul realm, yet he was swiftly wiped out without the ability to resist. Void crossing realm. At least above the 5th layer. The aged voice in Liya's mind turned serious. The words void crossing realm made Liya's heart pound. The night forest fell into silence, Liya's heart in his throat, ready to defend against the opponent's attack at any moment. He screamed in his mind, "Ancestor, save me." After a few breaths, the purple-black figure vanished without a trace, leaving Liya shivering, looking around frantically. "He's gone. He must have weighed something." The aged voice reassured in Liya's mind, easing his tension. "Brat, forget about Guan. Go to the inner sect immediately. This outer sect is getting more sinister by the day, someone must be defying the heavens. Staying longer will only bring disaster." The aged voice turned stern, while Liya remained silent. In Mystic Valley's pavilion, Guan looked at the storage bag in his hand, sighing softly. Senior Brother Li, I'm sorry. If I don't injure you a bit, you'll never leave here. Guan felt guilty. After all, Liya came for him. Although Elder Qin clearly intended to capture Liya, if he directly went to the inner sect, there wouldn't be further trouble. He decided to give Liya more medicinal herbs when he returned. Slaying Elder Qin gained him 37 years of lifespan, neither too much nor too little. He began to examine Elder Qin's storage bag, sweeping it several times with his divine sense to extract and destroy any potentially dangerous items. By dawn, Liya finally returned. He had changed into clean clothes, looking as if he hadn't experienced a fierce battle. Guan met him downstairs and asked, Senior Brother Li, why do you look unwell? Liya forced a smile. I had a minor mishap while practicing last night, it's nothing serious. Guan furrowed his brows and dragged him upstairs, taking out dozens of bottles of elixirs, claiming he had stocked them up. Liya asked in surprise, Junior Brother Gu, what is this? You came back from outside the valley looking unwell. You must have encountered a battle last night, correct? Guan said seriously. Liya's expression turned grim. He took a deep breath. I did encounter a demon cultivator last night and got injured. Junior Brother Gu, you should move to the inner sect Medicine Valley. Staying in the outer sect is not safe. Not safe? I don't believe it. Guan's foundation was here, he couldn't abandon it. Whoever dared to cause trouble would die. Guan smiled bitterly on the surface. Senior Brother Li, the herbs planted in this Medicine Valley are all low rank. The demon lord wouldn't be interested. Actually, without you here we're safer. You should go to the inner sect, we'll be fine. I can ask Lu Jiujia for help. We haven't lost touch. But, Liya hesitated. Guan interrupted, Senior Brother Li, I always felt that the chaos in the outer sect had little to do with demon cultivators. The Demon Extermination Hall has caught many demon path spies over the years. Could it be that someone is merely causing chaos under the guise of the demon path? If you go to the inner sect, you might save the outer sect. But if you stay here, how long can you protect me alone? Upon hearing this, Liya's expression darkened, recalling Elder Qin. After a few moments of struggle, he took a deep breath. Junior Brother Gu, you are right. I will go to the inner sect immediately. Guan smiled, shoving all the elixirs into Liya's hands, making him very touched. After a brief exchange, Guan urged him to depart, which Liya also felt should not be delayed. Due to his injuries, Liya could only fly using sword control. After leaving Mystic Valley, he couldn't help but look back, murmuring, Do you see, this is why I can't let go of him. No matter who it is, anyone who dares to harm him, I will make them regret it. Chapter 61 The Secret of the Supreme Sect, the division between right and evil. After Liya left, Guan quietly put Elder Chen's storage bag into the 8 scenic caves, and in the afternoon he came to the 3rd Medicine Valley. He wandered around and inspected the area, but his brows were tightly furrowed. After a while, Elder Tian finally took the bait. He walked over, curious, and asked, Valley Master, why have you been frowning so much? Guan glanced at him, shook his head slightly, and remained silent. Elder Tian took a step forward and said, Maybe I can't help you, but speaking about many things can reduce the pressure, and I can offer you opinions as an observer. Upon hearing this, Guan sighed and spoke out about what happened in the outer sect, including how Liya from the first layer of the core formation realm got injured protecting him. The reason he mentioned Liya was to ensure that the former sect leader remembered Liya's contributions. Guan always felt that Elder Tian would not truly settle here for life. He might make a comeback someday. After he finished speaking, Elder Tian furrowed his brows. Guan couldn't hold back his complaints. The outer sect's Demon Extermination Hall has been catching demon path spies all day long, yet after so many years, demon cultivators still infiltrate the Supreme Sect. Can the Supreme Sect still be considered the #1 sect if disciples within it can't even be guaranteed safety? I don't mind being killed, but I worry about my disciples. Speaking of this, he sighed again, feeling quite anxious and aggrieved. Even he praised his own acting skills. If acting skills could be added to the attribute panel, they should have reached a pinnacle, leaving some room for a return to simplicity. Elder Tian sighed and said, It does sound troublesome, but the immortal cultivation world has always been like this. No sect would truly care about servant disciples. To put it bluntly, they don't even consider servant disciples as part of the sect. Guan frowned, this time out of genuine concern. Hearing such words from the former sect leader's mouth was very jarring. But I heard that the new sect leader has a righteous heart and is the one the Hall of Elders looks up to. Maybe he can change things at least better than the former sect leader, Elder Tian continued. His expression remained unchanged as if he was not belittling himself, and it was unclear whether he spoke with veiled sarcasm. Guan did not respond, just sighed and continued to inspect the medicinal herbs. Elder Tian did not follow his pace and he didn't mention it again, fearing that it would be counterproductive. An ancient hour later, Guan returned to the Mystic Valley. Recently, he planned to stay in the Mystic Valley and return to other places on the same day. The disciples of Mystic Valley were puzzled as to why Guan had been staying there so often lately. It wasn't until Wuxin and Tang Yu went to the outer sect that they learned that demon cultivators had recently infiltrated, making them nervous but also touched. The master cared for them. Since the establishment of the Third Medicine Valley, the disciples had felt distance from Guan, but now they felt close again. Wuxin bore the greatest pressure and began to compel the disciples to practice spells, striving to make sure everyone had some measure of self-defense. He bought some noisy spells from the outer sect for the disciples to practice. It was difficult to counterattack demon cultivators, but if the commotion from the battle was loud enough, it might draw support from the outer sect. Guan did not stop him. Perhaps this could enhance the cohesion of the Mystic Valley and just as well train Wuxin's leadership and organizational skills. A few days later, Yilan came. She came for the same reason as Li Ya, worried about Guan. In the attic, Yilan took out a treasure sword from her storage bag and placed it on the table, saying, "Recently there have been demon cultivators around and their cultivation levels are not low. This sword is named Qinghong sword, carry it with you. Although it doesn't have strong power, it is connected to my white spirit sword. If you encounter danger, I can sense it immediately, and I will come to rescue you." Guan couldn't help but find it amusing and said, "Junior sister, your cultivation level is only a few layers higher than mine. Don't come to sacrifice yourself." Sacrifice herself? Yilan understood right away, glared at Guan and hummed, "Senior brother, if we really fought, I could subdue you with one move. I may act gently in front of you, but others face a different side of me." "It seems my junior sister is indeed strong. I underestimated you," Guan said with a smile, then picked up the Qinghong sword. The scabbard was exquisite, carved with an image of a wild goose soaring above the clouds, very elegant. He then drew the sword and with a flash of sword light, a slender blade appeared before his eyes. "It really looks good. From now on I will wear it on my waist," Guan said with a smile. These words made Yilan smile brightly. Guan noticed that although Yilan's appearance was not as stunning as Ji Xiaoyu or Li Xuanyu, she looked quite pleasing over time. Yilan sat down, smiling as she watched Guan play with the Qinghong sword. Guan suddenly asked curiously, "If you encounter danger, can the Qinghong sword sense the white spirit sword?" Yilan raised her eyebrows and said, "Why, senior brother, do you want to protect me?" "Haha, how could that be possible? You know I have never fought, I would only cause trouble for you if I came." "You know that, senior brother, anyway if I'm in danger, don't come. Don't worry, I'm afraid of death." "Hee, I'm afraid of death too. I want die, I must live on. Without me I fear someone might bully you." "Nonsense, all these years have I ever been bullied? Then may senior brother live safely forever." Since Leah left, the Mystic Valley had not encountered any more dangers. When autumn arrived, Guan calculated the time and realized that a batch of medicinal herbs in the Third Medicine Valley should be mature, so he returned to the Third Medicine Valley. As he walked out of the transmission array platform, his gaze involuntarily looked towards his attic. Someone was in the attic. Shenzhen. Guan did not go directly to find Shenzhen. After all, that attic had no secrets, and the only secret, the Green Hero Travelogue, she happened to like as well. He walked to an area and began picking herbs. Seeing the constant stream of notifications, he couldn't help but smile, feeling extremely joyful. No matter how high his cultivation level reached, seeing an increase in lifespan always made him happy. He wondered how many realms his cultivation could reach with 1,000,000 years of life. He had searched through all the books in the Outer Sect's book collection hall but had found no record of ascension, and no one knew the true extent of this world. The bigger the world, the higher the realms must be. Just the Supreme Sect had great cultivators in the Void Crossing realm. The true inheritor who was traveling might have surpassed the Void Crossing realm, but still couldn't be invincible in the world. The path of immortal cultivation was long and arduous. Guan picked herbs while his mind wandered. After he finished picking, he turned and walked towards the attic. When he passed by Elder Tian said, Miss Shen has come looking for you several times. Guan nodded slightly, then continued walking. Elder Tian hesitated for a moment and said, I have told Elder Guzong about what you mentioned. Perhaps the situation in the outer sect can be improved. Hearing this, Guan looked back at him with a smile and said, Elder Tian, see, everyone has their use. You always say you're ready for the grave, yet you can help thousands of disciples in the outer sect. Thank you. Guan raised his hand in salute and then turned and left. Elder Tian pondered deeply, murmuring to himself, everyone has their use, on the other side. Guan went upstairs and pushed the door open, seeing Xinjin sitting at the desk, writing. She still wore black clothes, her face covered by a black veil, her long hair coiled into a bun, with 2 strands of hair swaying on either side of her face, giving her eyes a gentle and serene beauty. Xinjin didn't lift her eyes as if she didn't see Guan enter. Guan walked over, circling to her side, trying to see what she was writing. At that moment, she calmly set her pen down and put away the paper. But Guan, who had already seen part of the content, had a strange expression, hesitating to speak. Xinjin stood up, tucked the paper into her sleeve, walked to the side and kept her distance from Guan, smiling. I came looking for you several times but you were never here. Is that outer sect Medicine Valley so captivating? Guan responded helplessly, recently the outer sect is unsafe. I can't bring all my disciples away, so I have to stay and protect them since my cultivation level is higher than theirs. The reason he revealed this was to hope she would pass on the message upwards. The more people spoke, the more strength and hope there would be. With your current achievements, not to mention entering the inner sect, even going to the main city of the Supreme Sect shouldn't be difficult. Why not focus on writing books instead of dealing with these trivial matters? Xinjin asked curiously. Guan replied, You are the holy daughter of the Daotian sect, possessing resources unattainable by ordinary people. Why not focus on cultivating, but instead indulge in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting? Xinjin fell silent. Guan then began tidying up the desk. After a while, Xinjin sighed, as expected of the person who wrote the Supreme Immortal Venerable. Indeed, only you can truly understand me in this world. If you die, I will not only lose a book to read but also a confidant. No, I can't let you die. Let me tell you a secret. She raised her sleeve and the door closed with a wave. Sheets of talisman paper flew out from her sleeve, sticking to the doors and windows. Guan curiously looked at her, wondering what secret could save his life. Within the Supreme Sect, some people want to practice demon skills to break through to higher cultivation levels, to prepare for the future demon calamity. But whether these skills are viable is yet unknown, so they are using the outer sect cities as a trial. This matter cannot be done openly as it would tarnish the reputation of a reputable sect, so they use the guise of capturing demon cultivators to cover it up, Xinjin said calmly, her eyes becoming exceptionally indifferent. Guan frowned and asked, How do you know this? Xinjin replied, Because the Daotian sect is also trying this. Sacrificing some lower-level disciples to ensure the sect's eternal existence is an accomplishment for generations. Hearing this, Guan felt extremely uncomfortable. What demon skill requires sacrificing disciples? Guan asked. In the world, immortal cultivation is said to defy heaven, but the higher the cultivation level, the more one can feel heavenly destiny. These demon skills are meant to help those great cultivators who can no longer break through to shatter their heavenly destiny. In short, you should give up on the Medicine Valley outside. Staying there does you no good because you are Panan. They fear you might write something so they don't dare tell you. Don't say I told you, Xinjin stated. Her words made Guan fall silent. The distinction between righteous and demon seemed absurd at that moment. Xinjin's eyes curved into a smile as she asked, By the way, how do you feel about what you saw earlier in my book? Guan's expression turned odd again. He seriously said, Actually, Green Hero Travelogue has its flaws. Some things are not necessary to learn. Why can't they be learned? Those are the most genuine confrontations, reflecting the truest human emotions. Do you really have to write about them? Yes. But can you change the protagonist's name so he isn't called Guan? Chapter 62, Preparing to Break Through, Immortal Slaying Sword Array, What are you afraid of? There's more than one Guan in this world. Unlike you, I can't just make up characters. I need to recognize someone to be able to write a story. In my eyes, you are the most fitting for the male protagonist. The only flaw, as far as I know, is your low cultivation level. Shenzhen spoke earnestly, causing Guan's face to twitch. Is this a compliment? Why does it sound like a personal attack? If I were to reveal my cultivation level, even your father wouldn't be able to match it. Guan continued to persuade, but Shenzhen stubbornly refused to change the name. In the end, Shenzhen proposed to exchange her name for a secret book, to which he could only agree. After Shenzhen left, Guan stayed in the attic, flipping through the book she had given him. Mystic Sound Art. This was a spell of sound, capable of harming the internal organs or confusing the enemy's senses. It was quite comprehensive. Guan happened to lack such spells and could further develop in this area in the future. Once he had read the Mystic Sound Art through once, he put it into his storage bag and then got up to leave. A month later, Guan arrived at Outer Gate City. He first went to the Elixir Hall to submit this year's harvest. Elder Zhu Qinglu received him, and he noticed Zhu Qinglu looked fatigued and had a trace of demonic qi churning inside him, similar to Lu Jiujia. Elder Zhu, you don't look well. What's the matter? Guan asked. He didn't understand how the demon skill of the outer sect was cultivated. Some people went missing. But this time, upon arriving at Outer Gate City, he found that many disciples hiddenly had traces of demonic qi within them. These disciples were almost all from different halls, not ordinary disciples. Was it collusion or a setup? He couldn't tell, and Shenzhen didn't say much either. Zhu Qinglu smiled. Cultivation, nothing serious. Don't you have a medicine valley in the inner sect? Move there quickly, don't stay in the outer sect. Lately, demon cultivators are rampant and it's too dangerous outside. Guan cautiously asked, many people have told me the outer sect is very dangerous right now. If it's so dangerous, why don't they send more people to eradicate the demons? Also, what is the area under construction in the city? It's taking up nearly a quarter of the city. Just arriving at Outer Gate City, he saw numerous disciples laying stones in the center of the city. Those stones were not mortal stones. They all contained spiritual energy. To him, it seemed like a huge sacrificial platform was being set up. Zhu Qinglu nonchalantly said, naturally, those above have their considerations. We can't speculate. The best we can do is to protect ourselves as best as we can. As for the construction in the city, it's an array platform which can protect the outer sect in the future. Looking at him, Guan felt he didn't seem like a good person and probably knew the inside story and even benefited from it. Guan didn't ask further. After a few courtesy exchanges, he left. After leaving the Elixir Hall, Guan stood on the street, looking at the array platform under construction from afar. The sky was covered with dark clouds, and the once bustling and sunny Outer Gate City appeared so gloomy, as if it were a land of the demon path. Guan stood still for a long time before turning to leave. The autumn wind swept through the streets, fluttering his clothes. The Qinghong sword at his waist swayed slightly, its scabbard glinting coldly. After leaving Outer Gate City, Guan went to manage those caves. When he arrived at Li Zuanya's cave, he found her inside. From now on, you don't need to come here. I'm going to the inner sect. This is your reward, Li Xuanyu said, sitting by the table. With a wave of her right hand, a pile of spirit stones stacked up on the table. Guan immediately bowed, then went forward to put the spirit stones into his storage bag. He didn't say much and turned to leave. Watching his back, Li Xuanyu suddenly asked, I heard your leg technique is quite impressive? Guan stopped, turned to look at her and said, did senior brother Liya say that? My leg technique can't compare to his. Recently, Liya had stayed in Mystic Valley, saw Tangyu practicing the residual wind leg, and learned that Guan had once subdued Meng Lang with it. He didn't expect him to tell Li Xuanyu so quickly. Yes, I just asked casually, Li Xuanyu said calmly. She paused and then said, I look forward to the day you enter the inner sect. Then we can compete. Guan, puzzled, said helplessly, how can I compare with you, senior sister? I can't catch up with you. Go back. Li Xuanyu didn't respond to his words. Instead, she issued an order to leave. Guan could only leave. After leaving her cave, Guan didn't feel much psychological burden. As long as he never admitted it, what could Li Xuanyu do to him? At night, Guan walked through the forest. In the afternoon, he had already told Wuxin he was going out and would return tomorrow. He said so in advance because he was preparing to break through. Once he broke through, it would inevitably cause a commotion. If disciples looked for him and found him not in his room, they might become suspicious. Since going to the Outer Gate City, Guan had felt an intense atmosphere of danger. Those in power were cultivating demon skills, and noble disciples were fleeing the outer sect. All these signs made him anxious. Although the 9th layer of the void-crossing realm was strong, it wasn't like the Supreme Sect had no void-crossing cultivators, so after struggling for several days, Guan decided to break through another major realm. At worst, the function of extending his lifespan by 1,000,000 years would be delayed by a year. This time he circled far and walked 300 miles by night, stopping in a dense forest. He stopped because he sensed 2 nascent soul auras, one of which he had felt before. Zuijian, the maniac swordsman of Canghu Lake, who had attained sword enlightenment near Mystic Valley and was injured by Guan as the flying leaf sword Immortal, had last been seen at the Ji Mansion. Guan had suppressed his aura to the lowest level, not afraid of being noticed by nascent soul cultivators. Miles away above the forest, the blue-clothed Zuijian stood in the air. 5 treasure swords hovered around him, showcasing the demeanor of a sword cultivator. Opposing him was a man in a large black robe, burly with a long staff, thick eyebrows and leopard eyes, with a square, stern face. His black robe billowed violently, and his domineering aura pressed the forest below to the sides. Zuijian, instead of reading books in the inner sect, why come to stop me? The black-robed man asked coldly. Zuijian, expressionless, said, Qin Shenjin, as great elder of the outer sect, you cultivated demon skill and harm your comrades. I'm not stopping you, you've committed many injustices. I come on behalf of the heavens to take you. Qin Shenjin laughed contemptuously, don't you know who I am working for? He then struck his staff against the ground, releasing circles of purple light that formed complex and mysterious formations over 100 feet in diameter. When the edge of the formation neared Zuijian, it was blocked by an invisible sword intent, making it look like a piece was missing from the formation from above. I know. I can't deal with him, but I can deal with you. If I kill you, even if the next great elder of the outer sect continues his evil deeds, at least I can protect the outer sect disciples for some time, Zuijian said expressionlessly. The 5 treasure swords around him unsheathed simultaneously, their light illuminating the night sky. You want to kill me? Qin Shenjin seemed to hear the biggest joke, his face turning fierce. His aura erupted suddenly, and the forest within 10 miles swayed violently. Zuijian's face changed slightly, his eyes narrowing. A nascent soul of the 1st layer killing a nascent soul of the 9th layer? Zuijian, do you think just because you have your master to back you, I won't dare kill you? You walking the path of power without concealing yourself is a mistake in itself. Saving some mediocre outer sect disciples is insignificant compared to saving the entire Taizong dynasty. If you don't understand this, then you've lived in vain. Qin Shenjin stood arrogantly, his domineering aura pressing against Zuijian's sword shadows, causing his 5 treasure swords to tremble. I'll give you one last chance. Turn back now and it's not too late. Either return and read your investiture of the gods or die. The staff in Qin Zuanjin's hand emitted rolling demonic qi, forming a massive black dragon coiled around him. Zuijian took a deep breath and said, Since you mentioned the investiture of the gods, do you know the Immortal Slaying Sword Array? Immortal Slaying Sword Array. Qin Zuanjin's face changed dramatically, surprise shining in his eyes. Guan, observing from a distance, was also astonished. A single vital breath, 3 divisions. Law from the kettle bind the vast void, Zuijian chanted, his treasure swords trembling violently, quickly dispersing to form an array with a fierce aura reaching the heavens. Guan, standing under a tree, was stunned. Can someone learn Taoist sorcery from reading books? Could he be a genius? Qin Shenjin was also frightened and immediately cast a spell to attack. A fierce battle was about to erupt. The earth shook, trees fell. Guan stood unmoved, his pupils reflecting the sword light, tightly watching Zuijian's figure. After 10 breaths, the battle ended. Guan let out a sigh of relief. That scared me to death. Guan truly thought Zuijian had learned the Immortal Slaying Sword Array from the investiture of the gods. If that were the case, wouldn't it mean the investiture of the gods was real? That would be remarkable. Zuijian used his self-created swordsmanship, indeed powerful, enough to contend with a great cultivator of the 9th layer of the nascent soul realm, but he didn't last long. The clouds scattered, turning the forest into wasteland, dust rising. Qin Shenjin hovered in the air, gasping, face full of lingering fear, eyes scanning the dust below. He knew Zuijian wasn't dead yet and frowned deeply, conflicted. Though he wanted to kill Zuijian, reason told him that killing him might cause trouble. Though a nascent soul cultivator in the Supreme Sect, he was still a pawn. At this moment, a piercing sound approached, startling Qin Xianjin, who looked quickly and his pupils dilated. A cold light sped from the horizon, dispelling the dust and raising numerous leaves, like a sword cutting through time itself. In the ruins, Zuijian sensed something, instinctively opening his eyes. The dust above rapidly dispersed, the night sky reflected in his pupils, and amid the darkness, a bright light shone brilliantly. "It's him!" Zuijian's eyes widened, witnessing a leaf surrounded by sword qi pierce Qin Zuanjin's chest, blood scattering in the night sky. At this moment, Zuijian understood. The flying leaf sword Immortal hadn't harmed him maliciously but was guiding him. Otherwise, how could he have survived? Now the flying leaf sword Immortal saved him, making him both delighted and ashamed. Who exactly was this senior? Chapter 63 Breakthrough to the Unification Realm. After being pierced through the chest by a leaf surrounded with sword qi, Qin Zuanjin's spiritual power collapsed within his body. His eyes widened and he was scared out of his wits. He immediately emitted his nascent soul and fled toward the sky. In the shaking forest, Guan quietly watched Qin Xianjin escape. He intentionally did not kill Qin Xianjin. Killing him would only gain him 20 or 30 years of life. It was better to let him return to intimidate the people behind him. Even if he killed Qin Xianjin now, someone else would take his place. It would not solve the root problem. If he could not intimidate them and they threatened his mystic valley, Guan would have to take matters into his own hands. Under the black night, Guan's gaze was so cold. He turned and quickly disappeared into the forest. Among the ruins, Zuijian struggled for a long time before he managed to stand up. He was covered in blood and dirt, looking extremely battered. He called out loudly for the seniors but no one responded. He had to sit cross-legged and cultivate his energy to heal on the spot. Meanwhile, Guan moved quickly, traveling thousands of miles before he finally stopped. He was still hiding in the forest. He lifted his robe, sat down in front of a tree, and then summoned his attribute panel. Seeing his over 100,000 years of lifespan, he took a deep breath. The void crossing realms tribulation crossing, who knew how many times he would fail. But he had already made up his mind. No matter how many times he failed, he must break through. Otherwise he would not feel secure. First, invest 10,000 years of lifespan. You invested 10,000 years of lifespan into your cultivation level for evolution and cultivation. You cultivated energy absorption for 100 years. You used the great accomplishment of Yangwood primordial skill to forcibly break through to the unification realm and started the tribulation crossing. You did not withstand the 5 elements God Thunder heavenly tribulation and failed. You cultivated energy absorption for 400 years. You used the great accomplishment of Yangwood primordial skill to forcibly break through to the unification realm and started the tribulation crossing. You did not withstand the 5 elements God Thunder heavenly tribulation and failed. The failures began to pile up. Every 300 years he attempted a tribulation crossing. No wonder the Supreme Sect cultivated demon skills to break through heavenly destiny. This realm was truly difficult to break through. After 10 consecutive failures, Guan's heart began to tremble. Is it this difficult? He had cultivated the infinite traceless mystic heaven step, great yin-yang transformation, and mastered 2 divine skills, yet it was still so hard to cross the tribulation? Guan noticed that most of his tribulations were related to the 5 elements. Could it be that his tribulations were much harder than others? After core formation, Leah once said that tribulations are categorized. Different cultivators face different tribulations, mainly related to their aptitude and cultivation techniques. Guan's eyes sharpened. No matter how difficult it is, he must succeed. The heavens don't fail those who pay with lifespan. You cultivated energy absorption for 5,400 years. You used the great accomplishment of Yangwood primordial skill to forcibly break through to the unification realm and started the tribulation crossing. You did not withstand the 5 elements God Thunder heavenly tribulation and failed. You cultivated energy absorption for 5,700 years. You used the great accomplishment of Yangwood primordial skill to forcibly break through to the unification realm and started the tribulation crossing. You did not withstand the 5 elements God Thunder heavenly tribulation and failed. The failure prompts kept coming. Guan hurriedly checked his attribute panel, looking at his lifespan. He felt a bit relieved. He still had confidence. However, even after 10,000 years had passed, he had not succeeded. His mentality almost broke. He hurriedly invested another 1200 years. Failure. 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 Guan's eyes turned red. He invested another 1200 years. Failure. Failure. Success. You cultivated energy absorption for 900 years. You used the great accomplishment of Yangwood primordial skill to forcibly break through to the unification realm and started the tribulation crossing. You withstood the 5 elements God thunder heavenly tribulation and succeeded. You broke through to the first layer of the unification realm. You cultivated energy absorption for 1200 years. Your cultivation level has increased. It was a success. Guan let out a long breath. It took him 12,400 years to succeed. Although the lifespan consumed by the evolution of lifespan surpassed real-world cultivation, he still felt the pressure. The unification realm was already like this, what about the realms afterward? But then he thought, considering his initial aptitude, reaching the unification realm before 50 was incredible. It was not lifespan being consumed, just numbers. Guan adjusted his mindset, activated the lifespan barrier, and prepared to enjoy the improvement in his cultivation level. Spiritual energy began to seep out of the ground, appearing at a visible speed. In less than 3 breaths, the ground appeared in a cyan wave, which was what attribute spiritual energy. Spiritual energy surged into his body, stirring up a whirlwind around him. The momentum began to grow larger. Guan felt that this time's commotion would surpass previous ones. Although it seemed like only breaking through one realm, the spiritual energy required for this one realm was incomparable to previous realms. As spiritual energy entered his body, Guan's cultivation level began to rise, and at the same time, insights into the unification realm emerged in his mind, as if he had truly experienced years of cultivation. In the outer gate city. In a mansion, Qin Zuanjin's nascent soul floated in front of a table. His face was gloomy, and he stared intensely at the ancient bronze mirror in front of him. Soon, a blurry face reflected in the mirror and a cold voice emerged. So late, what do you want to see me about? I was almost killed by the flying leaf sword Immortal, and Zuijian he stopped our grand plan. Qin Xianjin gritted his teeth, his tone filled with unwillingness and a trace of fear. Being pierced by that flying leaf gave Qin Xianjin a feeling of facing death. He was extremely scared now. He felt that if he had reacted even a little slower, he would have perished completely. The person in the mirror fell silent upon hearing this. Qin Xianjin did not disturb him, quietly waiting. After a while, Qin Xianjin seemed to sense something, and his face changed dramatically. The spiritual energy is sinking again. Qin Xianjin quickly said, looking toward the door as if afraid the flying leaf sword Immortal would come for him. Tomorrow, I will come to the outer sect myself. The person in the mirror said, and with these words, the image in the mirror disappeared. Qin Xianjin turned to look outside the window. The clouds in the sky gradually covered the bright moon, as if doom was descending, making his heart even more fearful. Not only did he feel the sinking of spiritual energy, but the entire outer gate city was also alarmed. More and more disciples flew into the sky. Recently, demon cultivators ran rampant, with disciples disappearing from time to time. Tonight, with the sudden sinking of spiritual energy, who would not panic? Yilan flew toward the law enforcement hall. Along the way, she encountered Lu Jiujia flying on his sword from the opposite direction. Both stopped simultaneously. Lu Jiujia's face was stern. Seeing Yilan, he hesitated. Yilan's expression remained cold. Is this your doing again? Lu Jiujia shook his head. No, the demon extermination hall has already ordered a state of vigilance. This time it might really be a demon cultivator invasion. Really? Yilan asked in a sarcastic tone. Lu Jiujia frowned. Yilan continued, Senior brother Lu, do you really think this path is right? They can be cruel to other disciples. Are you sure they will never turn against you? Lu Jiujia countered, if not this path, then what path? Like you, joining the law enforcement hall that can be disbanded at any time. The two looked into each other's eyes, full of conflict. Eventually, they brushed past each other without saying more harsh words. Dark clouds swirled, and a huge inverted vortex appeared in the night sky, vast and wide. The forest below undulated like waves, extremely oppressive. In a forest, in a hidden spot where no one could see, Guan was still sitting in meditation. An entire hour had passed, but his cultivation level was still increasing, not yet breaking through to the unification realm. The spiritual energy needed for the unification realm was truly enormous, far beyond Guan's expectations. How terrifying would it be to cross the tribulation in reality at such a realm? He suddenly felt that failing the evolutions many times did not matter. After all, in real life, failing once could mean death. Guwen felt the surging spiritual power within him, unable to remain calm. Having such massive spiritual power at the unification realm, what kind of power would a true immortal possess? He fell into infinite reverie. Earth spirit energy frantically poured into his body, and green waves of spiritual energy emerged from the ground. It felt as if he was in an ocean. Outside the lifespan barrier, the forest shook violently. More and more cultivators flew over Guwen's head, but no one noticed his presence. The effects he caused were not limited to this. Accurately, the whole Supreme Sect was affected. The forests outside all outer cities were shaking, causing the cultivators of Supreme Sect to feel anxious. This was not the first time Guwen had experienced this, so he was not panicking. On the contrary, he found it somewhat amusing. They want to cultivate demon skills and sacrifice outer disciples. Let's see how panicked they become. Guwen was dissatisfied with the notion of sacrificing a few to save many. Not because he was particularly honorable, but because he was among those being sacrificed. Time continued to pass. More and more cultivators flew over Guwen's head, and he kept using the lifespan detection. More than 10 Divinity Transformation Realm cultivators had passed by, and he even saw Void Crossing Realm cultivators. Indeed, the Supreme Sect was full of hidden experts. With more and more Void Crossing Realm cultivators passing by, Guwen even spotted an ancient ancestor. The demeanor of the patrolling ancient ancestor was extremely strong, unlike the gentleness shown toward Guwen. The overwhelming pressure made all things tremble. This night was destined to be restless. Another half an hour passed, and Guwen finally broke through to the unification realm, transforming his entire perception. He felt that his body and his primordial spirit were more in harmony. The process of his primordial spirit emerging from the body became much easier, and his control over both his body and primordial spirit had greatly improved compared to before. This feeling was so wonderful, so much so that he could not describe it. After reaching the unification realm, Guwen's spiritual power also began to change, becoming stronger and more abundant. The range of his divine sense increased tremendously, but he did not intentionally search, fearing he might disturb the great cultivators passing overhead. The number of Void Crossing Realm great cultivators had already exceeded 10. Guwen even saw a great cultivator with the G surname. No wonder the G family dared to open a mansion in the Supreme Sect. This person had not appeared during Ji Xiaoyu's banquet before. A little more than half an hour later, Guwen's spiritual power growth began to slow down. This indicated that the breakthrough was near its end. Guwen's mind gradually calmed down. This lifespan barrier already consumed more than 1,000 years, but he did not feel any regret. After all, the barrier helped him avoid detection by over 100 great cultivators. The great cultivators he identified were at least at the nascent soul realm. And this was just one direction of the Supreme Sect. How many great cultivators would there be when counting those overseeing the other 7 outer gate cities? What reassured Guwen was that he did not see any unification realm great cultivators for the time being. Although this could not completely prove that the Supreme Sect did not have any unification realm great cultivators, it at least indicated that the unification realm was at the top level within the Supreme Sect. Upon hearing this, all the disciples felt ashamed, thinking they were too weak and always worried their master. Xiuquan anxiously said, "Senior brother, why don't you go to the inner sect's medicine valley? We could disband and find our own ways in the outer gate. That way you'll be safe." He was not afraid of death, he just did not want Guwen to be too overworked. Guwen had already reached the Foundation Establishment realm, with a future they could not compare to. Why should he be constantly worried for their safety? Guwen said, "If you want to go to the outer gate city you are free to go, but I must remind you the outer gate isn't necessarily safer than Mystic Valley. Disciples often go missing in the city. This is neither a threat nor a hint. I respect your choice whether you stay or leave. The bond of Mystic Valley remains." He spoke from the heart. He pursued longevity and was prepared to face countless partings in the future. He had long since prepared himself not to concern himself with others' fates. Unless someone truly made him reluctant to part, he would follow his heart. Hearing his words, the disciples fell silent, looking at each other. Wuxin hesitated to speak but held back. Why leave? Becoming servant disciples elsewhere, who will make elixirs for us like the Master. Mystic Valley doesn't need so many servant disciples, but the Master still took us in without reducing our benefits. We must not forget our gratitude. Tangyu was the first to speak. His greatest regret was not rushing to the front like Su Han during Qiu Qianli's chaos. In those days Su Han chased after him. Now Su Han had reached Foundation establishment, while he still didn't know if he could ever reach it. This gap began at that calamity. Tangyu did not resent Guan, only felt ashamed. He vowed to perform well and regain Guan's favor. As he spoke, the other disciples chimed in, the atmosphere becoming lively, not as oppressive as before. Guan smiled and then called the disciples to continue their exercises. After they had just finished, Yilan came. Confirming Guan's safety, she quickly left. Guan stood by the window looking towards the direction of the outer gate city. There were still great cultivators flying occasionally, but not as many as the previous night. Guan's divine sense could easily span thousands of miles, peeking into the outer gate city, which was far from the limits of his divine sense. He saw the huge array platform being accelerated in construction. Some disciples had even started transporting spirit stones. He silently watched, unable to discern what formation the array platform was for. The matter of the sinking spiritual energy caused turmoil within the Supreme Sect, and the tense atmosphere lasted nearly 10 days before easing. Guan was affected. Several outer disciples were relocating their caves, losing him channels for collecting life energy. These outer disciples were clearly fleeing the outer gate city. Guan was not disappointed. He now had 3 pieces of the Medicine Valley, with increasing life energy in the future. He was even preparing to expand the 3rd Medicine Valley. He was now just waiting for the matter of the outer gate to end quickly. As long as it did not threaten his Mystic Valley or the few people he cared about, he was disinclined to meddle in the Supreme Sect's schemes. As Shenzhen had said, even the top sect of the Great Yu dynasty, the Daotian sect, was engaged in such activities. Why should he force interference? He did not have such a strong sense of justice to save all. The world had too much suffering. Could he save it all? Besides, such matters were difficult to manage. If he forcefully disrupted the Supreme Sect's plan, and later the Supreme Sect faced a great calamity with demons impossible to withstand, he would be blamed. Everyone in the Supreme Sect would hold him accountable. After all, apart from the sacrifices, others were beneficiaries. Even those saved might resent him, thinking they wouldn't have been sacrificed without his intervention. He couldn't keep saving groups of people endlessly, shouldering the mission of rescuing the world. Just thinking about it tired him. Time continued to pass. That day, Guan went to Qinghong Valley, first harvesting the matured medicinal herbs, then leading 3 monkey demons to sow the seeds. Luo Hun walked over from behind and said, "A month ago the Earth's spiritual energy sunk, many great cultivators from the Supreme Sect patrolled everywhere, and someone even passed over Qinghong Valley. What exactly happened in the Supreme Sect?" Guan casually responded, "It seems there was an invasion by demon cultivators. By the way, Leo was injured by demon cultivators earlier and is now recuperating in the inner sect." Luo Hun frowned deeply at this news, then turned and left, walking into the mountains and forests. After that, Guan's divine sense saw him casting on some talisman paper. Once his spiritual power poured into it, the talisman paper burned into ashes quickly. Guan, already at the unification realm, could sharply detect a trace of Luo Hun's spiritual power fleeing towards the sky, moving at an incredible speed. It seemed Luo Hun was informing Li Xiandao. Guan didn't think much about it, continuing his sowing. After sowing was done, he gave some instructions to the 3 monkey demons before leaving Qinghong Valley. He cared more about the construction and development of the Medicine Valley rather than those schemes. Directing his efforts here was the main task. Thick clouds covered the sky, and the outer gate city was crowded. Su Han and Zhen Qin stood before a stone stele. Su Han read, "Heavenly Repair Platform." Following Zhen Qin's gaze, they saw an imposing array platform dozens of miles long and wide ahead of them. Statues of ancient immortals stood at the edges in various postures. In the center of the heavenly repair platform stood a 100 Shanghai stone pillar, square and engraved with complex veins resembling human meridians, exuding mysterious signs. "Senior brother, what is the purpose of this heavenly repair platform? Why did the sect summon all the outer disciples back, and why must we gather on the platform tomorrow?" Zhen Qin asked, her brows furrowed with dissatisfaction. Su Han looked at the heavenly repair platform, speaking softly, "I don't know either. It might be related to the spiritual energy sinking a month ago. The streets behind them were bustling with people. Many disciples stopped to discuss the heavenly repair platform, equally perplexed. Many disciples witnessing it for the first time were amazed by the size of the platform. How strong would the formation be if such a large array platform were activated? Unable to get an answer, Zhenqin turned her head in another direction and briefly saw a familiar figure. But upon closer inspection she saw no one, as if she had mistaken. Strange, Zhenqin muttered. Not far away in a crowd of people, Jiang Qiong walked forward in a blue dress, her eyes sideways towards the heavenly repair platform, expressionless. A hunchbacked old man walked beside her, leaning on a cane only reaching her shoulder. Miss, this array platform is not simple. There might be a major event tomorrow. Should we stay? The hunchbacked old man asked. He was not the only one. Many disciples around were worried, with various speculations. Jiang Qiong remained expressionless and replied, Indeed, it is not simple. The restrictions within the array platform are exceptionally complex. It would take decades to deduce. But since we are here, we must see it tomorrow. The hunchbacked old man looked at her, sighing, Miss, you have changed a lot. Do you not have any attachments in this supreme sect? I do, hence why I asked you to come. Haha, looks like these old bones of mine will be tested again. They chatted casually without mentioning the Thousand Autumn Pavilion, so no one suspected their identities. Meanwhile, on the other side of the heavenly repair platform, in a 9-story pavilion, 2 figures stood by the building edge, both appearing young. One of them was the black-robed man, Qin Zuanjin's backer. The black-robed man looked down at the heavenly repair platform, eyes deep, lost in thought. The young man beside him asked, Master, most of the outer gate disciples in this city should have returned. Should we also gather servant disciples from nearby medicine valleys, beast fields and mines? That voice was indeed Qin Shenjin. He had seized the body of a young disciple. The black-robed man said softly, No need, having too many servant disciples would dilute the purity of cultivation. Chapter 65. Demon Suppressing Umbrella, Qinghong's Trembling. One night passed, and by dawn the next day, more and more outer disciples entered the outer gate city. Disciples of the Demon Extermination Hall and Law Enforcement Hall began to guard each city gate, checking the identity cards of every disciple entering the city. Many disciples were already sitting in meditation on the heavenly repair platform, waiting. Suhan and Zhenqin stood at the edge, looking out with furrowed brows. Senior brother, I feel something is off. Should we leave? Zhenqin whispered. She had been cultivating a technique taught by Jiang Qiong, making her keenly perceptive. The Demon Extermination Hall disciples standing at the edge of the heavenly repair platform made her uncomfortable, triggering a primal urge to flee. Suhan also sensed something was wrong, so he nodded and led his junior sister away. The two moved against the flow. It wasn't just them. Some other disciples also sensed something amiss and wanted to leave the outer gate city, but most chose to trust the supreme sect. They made their way to the city gates, only to be stopped by the Demon Extermination Hall disciples. Today, entry was allowed but exit was not. Suhan glanced at the large flags standing along the city walls, frowning again. These flags hadn't been there when they entered the city yesterday. Junior sister, I'll distract them and you prepare to escape, Suhan said using the sound transmission skill. Zhenqin instinctively looked at him upon hearing this. At that moment, Suhan suddenly drew his sword and dashed towards the city gate. How dare you? The disciple guarding the gate shouted angrily. Without needing a command, the surrounding Demon Extermination Hall disciples immediately took action. Zhenqin wanted to support Suhan but saw that he was surrounded. If she helped now, she would surely be captured along with him, which would only waste his efforts. She immediately made her way towards the gate, but nearly 100 Demon Extermination Hall disciples were in front of it, with more on the walls, making escape difficult. Zhenqin rushed towards the area with the fewest people. At the same time, other disciples attempting to leave the city also began to act, creating chaos in front of the gate. The weakest of the Demon Extermination Hall disciples were at the 5th layer of Foundation Establishment realm. Suhan was quickly pinned to the ground, unable to move. He struggled to raise his head and saw Zhenqin injured and on the ground, making his eyes redden with anger. The one who had hurt Zhenqin was a female disciple dressed in the black robes of the Demon Extermination Hall. She walked in from outside the city, blocking the gate and coldly scanned the crowd, Today we're investigating demon path spies. Anyone who tries to leave proves they're affiliated with the demon path. Upon hearing this, the anxious disciples visibly relaxed. It turned out to be an investigation of demon path spies, which explained the grand setup. They were only worried that the Supreme Sect might be up to something else. If it was just about catching demon cultivators, they had nothing to fear and were confident in their innocence. Su Han, Zhen Qin, and the other disciples who had acted were sealed with talisman papers that blocked their spiritual power and then escorted to the heavenly repair platform by Demon Extermination Hall disciples. By noon, all city gates of the outer gate city were closed. A resonant bell rang out, and a commanding voice echoed throughout the city. All disciples must immediately gather at the heavenly repair platform. Disciples from various streets began to head towards the platform, where tens of thousands were already standing. The news that the outer gate was investigating demon path spies had spread, giving peace of mind to those who weren't spies, and some even continued their qi absorption cultivation on the platform. Yi Lan arrived at the edge of the heavenly repair platform with disciples of the law enforcement hall. Just as she was about to step onto the platform, she noticed a row of disciples kneeling on the ground from afar, held down, and recognized Su Han and Zhen Qin, both with disheveled hair and blood-stained mouths, clearly having just fought. She did not act rashly but withdrew her gaze, pondering how to rescue the two disciples. After much thought, she reluctantly acknowledged that Lu Jiujia was her only possible ally. The law enforcement hall had been entirely suppressed by the Demon Extermination Hall. Even the hall master couldn't take anyone from their hands. Yi Lan couldn't help but worry about Guan, hoping he hadn't entered the city. She felt that today's events involved more than just catching demon cultivators. As a law enforcement hall disciple, she couldn't simply flee due to suspicion. Deep down, she still held some trust in the Supreme Sect, believing that such actions by the Demon Extermination Hall could only occur in secret. In the distance, Jiang Qiong and a hunched elder stood at a window in a pavilion, alongside some inner sect disciples who did not head to the heavenly repair platform but were curious about the outer gate's actions. Last night, a powerful divine sense swept the city. Its cultivation level is likely beyond the divinity transformation realm. The hunched elder spoke with a heavy tone, frowning. Beyond divinity transformation? Jiang Qiong squinted her eyes. The hunched elder continued to ask, "Miss, can you tell me why you are here?" Jiang Qiong looked toward the distant heavenly repair platform and said, "To kill a traitor." "A traitor?" The hunched elder looked puzzled. Time continued to pass. When the number of disciples on the heavenly repair platform exceeded 100,000, it still seemed spacious. Lu Jiujia stood at the edge, scanning the disciples on the platform. The murderous intent in his brows grew stronger, giving off a dangerous aura. Yi Lan approached, and upon seeing her, Lu Jiujia frowned. "Su Han and Zhen Qin were captured by your people. Can you let them go?" Yi Lan asked softly. Though she had already severed ties with Lu Jiujia, she had to lower herself for the two juniors. If she were the victim, she could choose death, but those two were Guan's disciples, and she couldn't abandon them completely. Lu Jiujia's frown deepened upon hearing this, but he still nodded slightly. "Thank you." Yi Lan turned to leave after speaking. Lu Jiujia watched her departing figure, wanting to say more, but ultimately only sighed and went to look for Su Han and Zhen Qin. Half an hour later, he brought Su Han and Zhen Qin back to where he was standing. Zhen Qin cautiously asked, "Marshal Uncle Lu, is this really just about catching demon path spies?" Lu Jiujia nodded lightly without speaking. Zhen Qin sighed in relief and said no more, while Su Han observed Lu Jiujia, feeling something was wrong with him. Suddenly, a red umbrella rose from behind a large building on the east side of the heavenly repair platform, quickly flying to the center above the platform, drawing many gazes. The red umbrella opened, releasing white jade beads that dangled on thin threads, swinging and clattering against each other, producing a clear sound. With a boom, the red umbrella erupted with powerful spiritual power, a faint golden light spreading and quickly covering the entire outer gate city, connecting with the flags on the city walls. Everyone in the city looked up, some curious, others fearful. A figure appeared out of thin air beneath the red umbrella, a man in black robes. "I am Chu Xian, an elder of the Supreme Sect's main city. I am here to cleanse the outer gate of demon path spies," the black-robed man named Chu Xian announced. As his words fell, the vast void-crossing realm aura enveloped the entire outer gate, letting everyone feel his immense power. Yi Lan looked up at the high and mighty Chu Xian from the crowd, her eyes full of shock. What kind of cultivation could produce such a presence? Not only her, but Lu Jiujia, Su Han, and Zhen Qin were also stunned. Most outer disciples looked at Chu Xian as if he were an immortal, awestruck and reverent. The Demon Extermination Hall has captured many demon path spies over the years, but there are still demon cultivators causing harm. We will first investigate the Demon Extermination Hall. Chu Xian's voice was cold and indifferent. As his words ended, the red umbrella above him shook, emitting an eerie sound that echoed throughout the city. Lu Jujia's expression changed drastically. Clutching his chest with both hands, he fell to his knees with a thud. Not only him but all the surrounding Demon Extermination Hall disciples did the same. Some even screamed in agony. "Martial Uncle Lu, what's wrong?" Zhen Qin asked urgently, extremely nervous. Lu Jiujia felt as if countless bugs were biting him all over, the pain excruciating. He couldn't respond, only signaling Zhen Qin and Su Han to stay away with his hand. The outer disciples on the platform looked towards the outer edge where the Demon Extermination Hall disciples were, murmuring in alarm. "The magic artifact above me is the demon-suppressing umbrella. Under its light, demonic qi is cleansed, and anyone practicing demon skills will turn to blood." Chu Xian's voice echoed once more. The heavenly repair platform erupted. Could the Demon Extermination Hall really be full of demon cultivators? The Demon Extermination Hall had captured countless people over the years, making many despise them. Now, knowing they were demon cultivators, how could anyone not be furious? Shouts and curses rang out. Lu Jiujia was in unbearable pain, his forehead pressing against the ground, his body trembling. "Damn it! I knew it!" Lu Jiujia gritted his teeth, his face twisted in agony. He couldn't mobilize his inner spiritual power, and his heart plunged into unprecedented fear. Black qi emanated from him, rising into the air. It wasn't just him. Other Demon Extermination Hall disciples also emitted black qi that quickly ascended, converging towards the demon-suppressing umbrella. Yilan stepped out from the crowd, seeing Lu Jujia's painful state. She hurriedly approached, taking out an elixir from her storage bag and feeding it to Lu Jujia. This sight caused other disciples to start cursing her, but she remained unfazed. However, her elixir proved ineffective. Junior sister. Run." Lu Jujia spoke with immense effort, each word seeming to drain him completely. After the word run, he spat out a large mouthful of black blood. "What's going on?" Yilan asked sternly, pausing briefly before quickly saying, "I can't escape now. Unless the truth is revealed and we fight with the whole sect, there's only a slim chance of survival." Lu Jiujia couldn't respond, his hand trembling as he raised his right hand, pointing towards the sky. Yilan turned her head and saw that he was pointing at Chu Xian in the sky. "Next, we will inspect the demon path spies on the platform," Chu Xian's voice sounded, causing the noisy platform to fall silent. At that moment, even disciples confident in their innocence felt a bit of panic. The demon-suppressing umbrella swayed again, and its eerie sound made everyone's hearts tremble. Yilan seemed to feel something, quickly looking down. The ground of the heavenly repair platform was covered in dense blood patterns resembling some strange script. Her feet were right on a blood pattern, an evil force drilling into her body and forcibly sealing her spiritual power, leaving her immobile. She trembled all over and her white spirit sword at her waist rang out as well. All the disciples on the platform knelt in unison, like rising and falling waves. They too were on top of dense blood patterns. I never expected the demon path to infiltrate so deeply. Given that, this outer gate has no reason to exist. Chu Xian's voice descended from the sky, icy cold, plunging everyone into an abyss. In Mystic Valley inside a pavilion, Guan was writing a book when the desk suddenly trembled, causing him to stop. His gaze shifted to the Qinghong sword placed on the desk beside him. The Qinghong sword was vibrating violently, the blade seemingly trying to leap out of its sheath, accompanied by faint bird-like chirps. Looking at the Qinghong sword, Guan's expression changed. Chapter 66. The Sword That Fell from the Sky. On the heavenly repair platform, tens of thousands of disciples knelt, blood runes surged beneath their feet, transforming into wisps of blood energy that coiled around their bodies. "Elder, I am not a demonic infiltrator. You are the demon. Traitor. You will die a horrible death." Ridiculous, so many demon spies, what a grand joke. I never thought the Supreme Sect could be so dark, and they claim to be the #1 righteous sect of Taizong, haha, it won't be long before the Taizong dynasty is annihilated too. Chu Xian, even if I die, I won't let you go even as a ghost. Such actions, do you not fear the wrath of gods and men, and the retribution that follows? Crying, begging, cursing, all kinds of sounds filled the outer gate city. In the center of the heavenly repair platform, within the stone pillars, grooves began to fill with blood from the bottom up, as if veins were flooding, a scene of eerie horror. Rolling dark clouds surged in from all directions, rapidly covering the sky above the outer gate city, plunging the city into darkness. A faint golden light shield emitted from the demon-suppressing umbrella began to manifest, enveloping the entire city. Those disciples not on the heavenly repair platform tried to flee but could not break through. Yilan trembled, trying to stand up, but she couldn't. Feeling her spiritual power being drained away, her eyes were full of terror and despair. Suhan and Jinqin beside her were in the same state, unable to speak, only able to wait in hopelessness for death to come. In the distance, inside the pavilion, a hunchbacked old man gazed at the figure of Chu Xian, his face heavy, saying, I never expected him to become this powerful. The talent of the Supreme Sect is truly extraordinary. How many years has it been? Jiang Qiong's eyes also showed signs of fear. Merely facing the pressure from Chu Xian, she dared not act rashly, the gap was too vast. I see the legendary heaven and earth nirvana array, Jiang Qiong muttered to herself. Hearing this, the hunchbacked old man looked at her, saying, Mistress, this array is likely to threaten us, we should withdraw immediately. Jiang Qiong nodded, her target was not Chu Xian, his appearance was unexpected, especially the heaven and earth nirvana array which had a great impact on her. The two immediately turned around, preparing to leave the outer gate city. Boom! Thunder rolled through the dark clouds in the sky, like a roaring heavenly god, oppressive and loud. Chu Xian looked up, his expression calm. After just a glance, his gaze returned to the city. Looking at the tens of thousands of struggling disciples below, his eyes showed a trace of compassion. For the eternal prosperity of the Supreme Sect, making a sacrifice is not in vain for your lifetime of cultivation. He muttered, seeming to comfort himself. The compassion in his eyes gradually disappeared, his gaze becoming indifferent. He raised his hand, grabbing the demon-suppressing umbrella, preparing to increase the force and refine the cultivation of all the disciples on the platform in one go. Yilan was already lying on the ground. She painfully raised her eyes to look. Under the billowing thunderclouds, Chu Xian's figure was so terrifying. But at that moment she saw not Chu Xian but another figure. She worried that Guan wouldn't escape this calamity. Regret filled her heart. She should have sought Guan yesterday, to let him leave the Supreme Sect early. Today's actions were against the heavens and humanity. Chu Xian would surely kill all the servant disciples belonging to this outer gate city. More and more blood-colored runes covered her body, like chains, pulling her tightly as if they wanted to drag her into the ground. An unprecedented exhaustion surged toward her like a raging tide, her eyelids trembling as they shut. The white spirit sword at her waist continued to tremble, seemingly anxious for its master. Just then, Yilan seemed to feel something, instinctively opening her eyes. Sunlight shone on her face. Not only her, the other tormented disciples also opened their eyes because the sky suddenly brightened. The bloodied Lu Jiujia could only look at the sky with his remaining vision. Under his gaze, the rolling thunderclouds above had been dispersed from the cloud waves at the horizon. It was obvious they had been driven away by some powerful force. Jiang Qiong and the hunchbacked old man, who were quickly moving through the streets, saw it more clearly. They turned to look and then stopped. Above the demon-suppressing umbrella, outside the faint golden light shield, a sword hovered. The sword was enveloped in sword qi, obscuring its blade, but it was evident it was a long, slender sword. Chu Xian raised his head, moving the demon-suppressing umbrella, his brows furrowed. Who? His voice echoed with a hint of tension. That single word brought hope to everyone in the city, those trapped on the heavenly repair platform showing looks full of hope. Boom! A formidable sword intent burst from the sword shadow in the sky, crushing the faint golden light shield over the entire city in an instant. Chu Xian's expression changed dramatically. He immediately channeled spiritual power into the demon-suppressing umbrella, which shook violently, releasing a powerful force to counter the sword qi. Combine! Chu Xian's eyes widened. Just as he uttered a syllable, the sword shadow plummeted with overwhelming dominance, scattering the vast power of the demon-suppressing umbrella, shattering it and piercing through his body. like a falling star. The sword shadow descended, landing on the heavenly repair platform, its blade embedding in the stone, vibrating incessantly. The formidable sword intent burst forth, scattering all the blood-colored runes on the platform, shattering the massive stone pillar instantaneously. The sword intent swept past Yilan's body, causing her robes to flutter, giving her a sense of awakening from a nightmare. Suhan and Zhenqin felt the same. They quickly stood up. More and more disciples broke free from their restraints, standing up and turning to look at the sword shadow in the center of the platform. To them, the sword was not fearful, for it had saved their lives. Someone looked up to see Chu Xian still floating in the air, holding the umbrella handle of the demon-suppressing umbrella, his body trembling, blood pouring from his 7 orifices uncontrollably. "Why?" Chu Xian stammered, but before he could finish, his body erupted in bursts of sword light, soon turning to ashes, not even his primordial spirit escaping. The sky followed with a dim yellow light as if dusk had arrived. How is this possible? He was in the void-crossing realm. The hunchbacked old man's eyes widened, his tone filled with terror. Jiang Qiong's composure also faltered. Chu Xian already surpassed the divinity transformation realm. What level of cultivation was needed to slay Chu Xian with a single sword? Following her gaze, a pillar of energy fell from the sky, connecting to the heavenly repair platform, seemingly splitting the entire world in two. That was sword chi. In this world, such a sword cultivator had been born. At that moment, Jiang Qiong felt very insignificant, also very mediocre. The century of injury seemed to have eliminated her from the immortal cultivation world. Meanwhile, the third medicine valley. Under a large tree, Elder Tian gazed towards the direction of the outer gate city. Even from a great distance, he saw the pillar of sword chi above the heavenly repair platform. Unification, Elder Tian muttered, his voice heard only by himself. On the mountain top at the edge of the medicine valley, Yi Yin stood against the wind. A strong gust suddenly blew, pulling his robes backward. He held a long spear, his posture as steady as a pine, unmoved. He squinted, looking at the pillar of sword chi in the distance, filled with wonder. Dozens of miles away, Shenzhen stood on a cliff. Behind her was the entrance to her cave. The wind blew her black robes and veil, revealing the lower half of her face intermittently. In her pupils reflected the pillar of sword chi, her eyes full of curiosity. Supreme Sect still hid such sword cultivators. She couldn't help but think of the flying leaf sword Immortal, plucking leaves and killing nascent souls. How high was his realm? No one knew, not even who he truly was. Yi Lan stood at the edge of the heavenly repair platform. In front of her were tens of thousands of disciples. She couldn't see the sword shadow surrounded by the sea of people, but her eyes turned unconsciously to the white spirit sword at her waist. The sword continued to tremble slightly. Her eyes revealed a complex expression. At that moment, the outer disciple stepped back, making a thunderous noise. Yi Lan's attention was caught by a sharp sound. It was the sound of the sword blade grinding against stone. She immediately leapt, stepping on her flying sword, ascending into the sky. Not only her but tens of thousands of disciples did the same, scattering into the air, creating an immensely spectacular sight. All who reached the sky widened their eyes, for they saw the sword shadow that had killed Chu Xian moving swiftly, the blade still embedded in the platform stone, sliding all the way, sparks flying, sword intent spreading. Elder Lu Chang of the book collection hall frowned deeply, reciting, "Righteous path." When the sword shadow finished carving the last stroke, it flew up, brushing past the heads of all disciples, disappearing into the horizon in an instant. Everyone turned their heads to look at the heavenly repair platform. At its center were 2 large characters engraved. Righteous path. The strokes filled with vigor, exuding extreme sharpness and an aura of death. Jiang Qiong and the hunchbacked old man also flew into the air. Seeing those 2 characters, the 2 demon cultivators from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion were also deeply shaken. Taitsung righteous path committing to demonic deeds, but ultimately stopped by a mysterious sword cultivator who left behind the 2 characters righteous path. What did this signify? The Supreme Sect might have its dark sides, but it also had great cultivators with a heart for justice. Jiang Qiong always sneered at the name of the righteous path of the Supreme Sect, thinking the Supreme Sect was just deceiving the world, but now she suddenly felt the Supreme Sect might not be so contemptible. Mystic Valley within the pavilion. Guan sat at his desk, his brows slightly furrowed. Someone had locked onto his Qinghong sword, making it difficult for him to recall it directly. He was using sword intent to control the sword. That earlier strike was no ordinary attack, it was a move from the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword. The Integration Realm Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword. Since you want to chase, fine, let them understand a sword hangs over their heads within the Supreme Sect. Guan thought silently, then picked up a brush, preparing to see if he could multitask. The Qinghong sword was already over 6,000 miles away from him, and the distance was rapidly increasing. Above the sea of clouds, the Qinghong sword wove rapidly, leaving a long trail of energy waves that extended to the edge of the sky. Suddenly the Qinghong sword stopped, suspended above the clouds. In less than 3 breaths, a golden light shot from the horizon, quickly arriving in front of the Qinghong sword, within less than 100 meters. The golden light dispersed, revealing a man in a blue Taoist robe, holding a horsetail whisk, appearing immortal-like, only his expression was somewhat solemn. Who are you exactly? A unification realm sword cultivator unheard of within the Taitsong dynasty? The Taoist-robed man asked, his tone grave. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.